Hey everybody, welcome to Kent with Bent 123 Hovindween, our Halloween episode. You might be
Yay.
able to tell that we're looking a little different. The set has gotten a little spooky. Bent got a haircut,
Yes, I did.
Yep, it's very nice.
I
So,
like it.
yeah, I like it too.
Thanks.
So before we get going, we have a couple things. Command Cyborg joined the channel at the amniote level, so send some sessile, not pelagic tunicates and some tetrapods in the chat. And also, Kent No Relation Halstead said for $2, spooky ghost message with 2 ghost emojis. So thank you very much. So let's take a look. Oh, first of all, what are we drinking here, Bent? What do you got?
I have iced tea
Okay.
with some grape flavoring.
All right, and I have myself an amber ale. So there you go. So
Yeah.
this is our Halloween episode, but other than having a fun set and a haircut for Bent, it's not going to be all that Halloween-y, really. I mean, we got rain too, but that's part of the set, I suppose. Primarily, we're just going to be doing, Kent with Bent. Although I do notice that the Sal's Bitchmate timer is really coming up on 200 days, huh? Huh. That'll be interesting.
It's been a while.
There's going to have to be a 365-day, special event for that. I don't know. Anyway, we are here for Kent with Bent. So if you're new, or maybe you haven't been here for a little while, you're not sure how this goes, Kent with Bent is a sort of a live react show in which I take a look at the videos of Kent Hovind, of course, with Bent Hovind, no relation, hence the Bent part of Kent with Bent. Now, we also play a little bit of a drinking game. The first thing I need to say about the drinking game, however, is, first of all, if you want to play with something other than alcohol, that is perfectly acceptable. If you want to play with water, tea, coffee, juice, soda, vape pen, I don't care. All of those are fine. You are absolutely under no obligation to drink. I'm having a beer. Well, I mean, I plan on having more than one beer by the time this is done. But yeah, I'm drinking beer. You can drink whatever, or nothing. That's fine too. But if you do decide to play with an intoxicating substance, please know your limits, be safe. We often end up taking a fair few drinks, so pace yourself. Modulate how big a drink is for you based on what you can handle. And if you do, in fact, get a little, tipsy, maybe don't go and operate heavy machinery. Drive a car, text your ex, nothing like that. Just don't do it. Because this show accepts neither liability nor responsibility nor culpability for anything that you do as a result of playing along and having a little bit too much. Be a responsible adult if you're going to participate. But with that, first, Bent, do you have anything you want to let people know before we get into the drinking rules?
Do I? I don't think so.
All right, then. Let's see. We will take a drink. Whenever Kent Hovind says something so dumb, we just kind of have to drink in order to cool our brains down. Also take a drink if Kent Hovind tells a joke that doesn't land or a story that didn't happen. So, for instance, if he tells the story about how he argued with a shampoo bottle about evolution and he won, but he tells it as if he were arguing with a professor from Berkeley on an airplane to nowhere, with a professor that's never named, and of what we don't know, we'll take a drink for that. That's just one example of a story that didn't happen. He's got a few. We'll also take a drink if Kent Hovind mentions if he brings up the kind of thing that might trigger Godwin's law, let's say. I'll leave it for that this time. Or leave with that this time? Yeah, that's the correct verbiage there.
Leave it at that.
English is dumb. So yeah. April Van Ryan says, I'm tipsy already. Time to drive a crane and prove the earth is flat. First, no, it's definitely not time to drive a crane. And I know who you're referencing, and he is wrong that the fact that a crane can hang motionless overnight demonstrates that the earth is flat. That is not how that works. Please don't. Please don't. Right, we'll also take a drink if Kent Hovind cites a source, and upon checking up on that source, we find that it not only fails to support him, which, I mean, it's obviously going to unless it's a creationist source, but if it actively contradicts him, we call that a Trojan source and we take a drink. I don't think it'll come up this time, but we also have ad hominid, which is when Kent thinks that something about some wider taxon than just the one specimen Lucy is unknown or is known because of what's in Lucy, right? So or isn't. So he's like, well, we don't know what kinds of hands Australopithecus had because Lucy wasn't found with hands. Nah, that's an ad hominid. Ad hominid. We only get one of those though per stream. Now we will also take a drink if Bent or I can predict what Kent is about to say, where it's not very obvious, right? If we're like, oh, I don't know what he's going to say, but we can get it right, we'll take a drink for that. We'll also take a drink. There's a few ways you guys can make this drink. So, if anyone super chats or milestone chats anything to the effect that AIG or a bag of dicks, sorry, there you go, we will take a drink for it. Now, you can't just type that into YouTube. They will censor you a little bit, so you have to be a little clever. But we'll also take a drink if a super chat or milestone chat includes any of the kaiju emojis, of which we have 3. We have Mothra, we have Godzilla, and we have King Ghidorah. Savage Panbovicetaceae cobra, which I still hate that word, for $5 says, AIG is a bag of Mike Johnson's, and I mean that as an insult to both. Very nice. Yeah, we'll take a drink for that one.
That's good.
Yeah, hey guys, the new Speaker of the House of Representatives of the United States of America has an author page on answers.com, Answers in Genesis' website. So, that's just great. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this country. Everything is going great here. How's your country doing? Living Pterodactyl Immurament Therefore Squawkney for $2 says, a rare convergence, Halloween and Taco Tuesday with a jack-o'-lantern and a taco emoji. Yes, it is a nice combination. You can have a spooky taco. So one last one, unless I'm forgetting any, which Bent will remind me of, is that if you gift memberships, which is, by the way, one of the great ways to get us more emojis if you want more emojis, we will take a drink for each gifted membership. So if you gift 5 emojis, or sorry, not emojis, if you give 5 memberships, we'll take 5 drinks. Give 10, we'll drink 10. Now at 30, I'm just going to finish my beer, pour another one, and add 30 to the counter. Anything past that is going to be the same thing, right? So, you know, if you want to give 50 memberships, you can, but I'm not going to sit here and count out 50 individual drinks. I'm just going to down what I have, grab another one. So, Bent, what have I forgotten?
I don't think you mentioned when Kent gets something right. We'll take it.
Oh, that's true. It happens so rarely. Yes, if
rare.
Kent Hovind actually gets something right, and he doesn't just quote it from someone else, right? If it actually comes out of his brain, then we will take a drink for that. So, I think that covers it. Bent, you sure we don't have anything else that I've missed?
I think the kaiju sounds, I don't think we talked about that.
Oh, yeah, that's true. If you can hear Mothra or Godzilla, that might happen. I can't guarantee it. But if it does, we'll take a drink for that, too. That's somewhat random. All right. With that, though, I think we're ready. Now, Kent was talking about Charles Darwin taking Charles Lyell's book about geology on the Beagle with him when he went on his voyage of the Beagle. And that is true, he did. And so we're going to hear what Kent has to say about that, because for some reason, Kent seems to think that Charles Lyell and Charles Darwin are still relevant to science outside of just, like, the history of science. Oh, and Eddie McCoy says, nice Halloween layout. Thank you very much, Eddie McCoy. I threw it together yesterday in like 20 minutes. So it helps when you already have a setup for procedural cobwebs and procedural pumpkins. Oh, and Subaru for $4.99 says, AIG is a sack of the thing you'd find over what the first Megalosaurus fossil was thought to be. They thought it was a giant's ball bag. It's true. Scrotum humanum. It's true. We'll take a drink. And also, that was their first super chat on this channel. Thank you very much. Asteryumi Star Dinosaur in Chinese for $4.99 says, at work right now, we prep sausages by putting them in a little baggie. Alas, they didn't let me call each baggie an AIG. I'll take a drink for that, too.
Nice.
Very nice. Thank you. Those are pretty great. All right. Without further ado, now that we are some 12 minutes into the stream, a little less because, it's like a 3-minute opener, but whatever. We'll hit play.
And each of the layers that you see is a different age.
Those are geological strata that he's talking about.
Well, Darwin read that book on the voyage and believed it. Later on, he wrote a letter to one of his friends, Russell Wallace, and he said, disbelief crept over me on a very slow rate. I felt no distress. In other words, it didn't bother him that he lost his faith in the Bible.
Yeah, okay. I love how Kent is like, oh, if people think differently than me, that's automatically a sign of something bad happening. I don't know.
On that trip, Captain Fitzroy, that'd be another question you need to have on a quiz. Captain Fitzroy.
Oh, Strawberry Vein says, Happy Halloween with a bat, a jack-o'-lantern, a ghost, and a black heart. Well, happy Halloween to you too.
Happy Halloween.
Fitzroy, he was one of those, he was a Christian, but he was one of those Pharisee types who was extremely hard to get along with.
You know what? We usually just drink for casual bigotry. We'll just drink for some casual anti-Semitism that also turns into, if you think too hard about the history of Christianity as a movement, also just being mean to the founders of Christianity, who were almost all Pharisees too, at least on the Jewish side. And also, April Van Ryn has sent a message saying AIG and Kent are a bag of blasphemous Balrogs. I'm not sure I get how that turns into dicks, but we'll take a drink anyway. There we go. All right, here we go.
And Darwin really defended Christianity against the sailors for most of the voyage.
I have no idea if that's true or not. I don't really care either.
He defended the Bible for the first part of the voyage, and gradually, as he read Lyell's book, it appears that that was the thing that really convinced him against the Bible being literally true. And
which, by the way, even Kent doesn't believe.
Plus, Fitzroy and Darwin talked many hours on this 5-year voyage, and Fitzroy was just absolutely inflexible, unreasonable. You couldn't talk to the guy. It's my way or hit the road, you know. And there's, of course, people like that today, plenty of them. And so that kind of drove Darwin away.
Sorry?
Are there, Kent?
Oh, yeah.
People like that?
I mean...
That's Kent. Kent's one of them.
Well, yeah.
That's my...
at least from the rigid fundamentalism. And there's no telling how many people have...
Imagine Kent criticizing someone for rigid fundamentalism.
Right?
Oh, my goodness. There's so much projection.
And I'm a fundamentalist, okay? But there's no telling how many people have been driven away from Christianity by the fundamentalists who got their dumb rules that they did not get from the Bible. Anyway, during this voyage, as they sailed around, they would stop in at all sorts of different ports. On the right side of South America, you can see on the map there, Darwin, as he's coming into this port, he saw this river and this giant valley. And here he is, he's been reading Lyell's book about how, you know, things take millions of years to happen. And he said, you know, I bet that river slowly moved grain after grain of sand and made that massive canyon.
Sean for $5 says, Happy Halloween, remember to check your candy to make sure no one slipped any AIGs into the candy. I'll take a drink for that, that's pretty good. You know, if I went going, trick-or-treating today, I would hope that someone would slip me an edible instead of an actual candy. That'd be so nice. Like, come on, man.
Wouldn't it?
Give me one of your most expensive candies. Like, you mean this one, the special one? April Van Ryn tosses us a toonie and says Balrog works because it's Halloween. A Godzilla. You know what? That's fair. I'll take a drink for the Godzilla too. Very fair. All right, here we go. Oh, except Fits of Carl Baugh's English Teacher's Rage for $2 says, celebrating Halloween by drinking blood sangria. Very nice. Does that count as blood wine? Is that ill?
Sure.
I'm gonna go with yes. So that also works for, you know, any kind of Klingon thing you want to do. Sangria.
I mean, I forget which one it was, but it's one of the rivers in South America that really impressed him. Like, this would have taken millions of years.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, or it would take one big flood.
Okay, so the thing I love here is that I'm familiar with the story, and Darwin did in fact get it wrong. It was not a millions of years old valley. It was a valley that was a few tens of thousands of years old, because what he was actually looking at was the remains of a glacial moraine, which is a valley carved out by a glacier. But he didn't know that because, well, he wasn't terribly good at geology. He never really was. He was okay at it. So it's amusing because this is actually a story about Darwin getting geology wrong and inferring a great age where there was no such evidence. And yet Kent gets it even more wrong by assuming that a glacial moraine could be formed by a flood, when we know that, well, no, it can't. Oh, and Atheist Jr., you sent a $5 super chat, but it didn't show up. That's weird. Tell you what, tag me with what it should have been, and I'll read it. And if it does later show up, let me know, and I guess I'll read it again. 'Cause that shouldn't be. Come on, YouTube. Gotta make things work.
But he assumed the present is the key to the past.
Yes, he did.
And there's the problem.
No, it's not, right? Because you can see modern glaciers, right? The problem was that he wasn't familiar enough with what was happening in the present in terms of geology to recognize the difference between a moraine and a slowly eroded river valley. Now, Jens van Broekhoven has just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. They went to Chesh, Robert Carpenter, Kent, no relation, Halstead, Border Barbecue, there we go, and Turing Test 2. I'll bet Carl Baugh would fail the Turing Test 2, just like Carl Baugh would fail the Turing Test. All right, here come 5 drinks. Here we go, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And also, those of you who just got memberships, now you can go check out the spooky series that I did on Carl Baugh after we're done with this show. So you can have a spooky dapper marathon. That whole thing takes like, how long is it? It's like 3 hours or something. I have a supercut ready for it for eventual use. And let me see how long just the supercut is, which is slightly shorter than just binging the series right after the other. Yeah, the supercut is 3.5 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. So there you
Quite
go.
a lot of content.
Yep. October was a fun month. I made spooky Carl Baugh content.
He's looking at this river, moving down this little channel, bringing a few grains of sand at a time, and he's thinking, wow, to make this giant valley would take millions of years. Well, you're right, Charlie. If that river did that, it would take millions of years.
Mm-hmm.
But that river didn't do that.
True.
And that's exactly where they go wrong. The flood is what they forget. They don't like to talk about that flood.
So let's take a look at some of the differences between moraines, which are things that are carved by glaciers, versus flood deposits. So one of the first bits is that a glacial moraine does not actually tend to pick up very much in the way of actual sediment, like small grains like sand or silt or anything like that. Instead, the glacier tends to just push that to the front of the glacier where it just kind of piles up there, so you get a little hill at the very foot of the glacier. And that's only when the glacier is advancing. As it's retreating, it's still not bringing all that sediment in, right? Damien McLagan for $5 says, AIG and Ken Hogan are both containers of Disney's Little Mermaid's castle spires. Those were oddly phallic, weren't they? Thank you very much. All right, that was a drink. But what you do tend to find as a glacier retreats is that it starts to leave behind these, they're called glacial erratics. And they tend to be like fist size all the way up to like house size boulders, right? And they're made of foreign stone. After I was adopted by my human family, and they raised me up in the ways of the humans, I lived in Massachusetts, and that area is just full of glacial erratics. You can't dig a hole without running into like 50 of them. It's everywhere. The soil is so famously rocky that people built, like when people were establishing farms in the area, they would use the rocks that were thrown up, which were almost all glacial erratics, to build walls around their property as property line markers, so you could tell where one farm ended and the next one began. And they could do it just from the rocks that were thrown up when they were initially plowing the land, because it's so rocky. It's everywhere. Now, we see glacial erratics all over the place. This river valley in South America, whose name also escapes me, it's not just Kent, is one of them. But you can also find them in places like near the bottom of the Grand Canyon, at the top of the Great Unconformity, which is one of the reasons why the end of that period, like the Proterozoic, was thought to coincide with a intense ice age, much, much more severe than anything the Earth has experienced since, right? Because we have these glacial erratics. So a flood, on the other hand, picks up huge amounts of sediment, and it deposits a huge amount of sediment in a graded bedding. So a glacier will leave behind a erosion surface with erratics, which will then have more deposition on top of it, which will not be necessarily graded. All the erratics will tend to be at the bottom, with sediment building up around it. Whereas a flood will leave a graded bedding with various boulders all mixed towards the bottom, and then grain size decreasing as you go up the stratum vertically. So it's not like geologists can't tell the difference, right? We know what floods do, we know what glaciers do, and we know what rivers do. This valley was a glacier. If Kent Hovind wants to say it's a flood, great. Find the flood deposit for me, Kent. Wayne Rossi for, I'm sorry, 199 says, AIG are a sack of trouser candy corn. Oof, candy corn.
Yep.
Oh. Actually, I just saw it today. Apparently, the media is finally starting to get away from the trend of the millennials are ruining Industry X. And now they're saying it's the Gen Z people are ruining Industry X. And I saw that with Gen Z just isn't buying candy corn anymore. They're putting candy corn out of business. So, and you know what? Gen Z, feel free. I will not miss candy corn.
Good work.
The candy corn manufacturers will either change the taste so it tastes good, or they'll go out of business. And, okay, if your business is to make something that no one wants, maybe you shouldn't be in business. Cops. Oh, what did I say? I don't know.
But Darwin came to these islands right here, the Galapagos Islands, and that'll be a quiz question. Galapagos, Galapagos, I believe. On the Galapagos Islands...
Wait, is it on screen here? Could he have read it off? Hold on. Wealthy school, medical student. I mean, it's down in the circle, but it's too fuzzy for me to read. All right, I'll give him... I'll let it go that he was trying to remember, even though it might have been on screen, because I don't think it really was.
They found giant tortoises. You ever gone to the zoo or the carnival or something? You see those huge tortoises.
Ben, remember that time we were at the zoo not that long ago?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you're like, where's the tortoise? And I pointed to the other side, and it was like a boulder.
It was pretty big.
Yep. Yeah, so that's the kind of tortoise we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
A turtle lives in the water. A tortoise lives on land.
Oh, okay, so there's not a great common definition for what a turtle is. Like American English is very expansive with the word turtle. This isn't a correction to Kent, really. And tortoise isn't like a taxonomic definition. It's just a word used to describe land-dwelling turtles who really don't spend any time in the water. So I'm not going to say Kent's wrong here. I'm just going to say that words surrounding turtles and their relatives like tortoise, turtle, terrapin, things like that are a little bit messy in common English. And so if someone is just speaking colloquially about these animals and you feel like they got it wrong and they said, oh, that's a tortoise, not a turtle, in a lot of various uses, tortoises are just a subtype of turtle. But then there are other varieties of English where that's not true. What I'm saying is, unless someone is using scientific terms to refer to these animals with shells and four limbs and beaks and whatnot, be generous and not too pedantic, because chances are that in their variety of English, those animals are categorized differently than in your particular variety of English, because it varies a lot. Let's see. Savage Panbovicetacea Cobra says, a large tortoise the size of a small tortoise? Yes. Oh, I love that headline. Do you know that headline it's referring that Savage Cobra's?
I'm vaguely familiar with it.
Yeah, there's a headline that says that there's a boulder blocking this highway, and then the next line is like, a large boulder the size of a small boulder the size of a large boulder. It's like, what are you talking about? Cookie's right for $2 says, to Kent, they should all be turtle kind. Yeah. I actually don't know what Kent thinks about like the kind status of like testudines or testudinata or pantestudines, which are all just different clades getting closer and closer to the, what we think of as turtles, tortoises, and terrapins.
That's the difference. Okay, you caught a tortoise the other day, right? They're out here. A box. Yeah. Okay.
A box turtle isn't a tortoise by anyone's definition, but okay.
If it's on the tortoise, a tortoise lives on land. A turtle lives in the water. Otherwise, they look very, very similar. The giant Galapagos tortoises, nobody knows for sure how long they live, but they, as far as I know, all of them come originally from Galapagos.
Yes, Kent, all the Galapagos tortoises come from Galapagos. We'll take a drink for that. It is technically true, even if it is a tautology. Goodness. It's like saying, hey, did you know that there are Komodo dragons on the island of Komodo?
Really?
Yeah, it's almost like
I'm
that's how
shocked.
they got their name. Also,
Shocked, I say.
the Galapagos Islands have prickly pear plants the size of large trees, which I would love to see someday because I like prickly pear plants, and I've never seen one that big.
They
That sounds
are
amazing.
supposed to be excellent food. The sailors would just pick these things up and take them on board the ship and let them wander around because, you know, what do they move? 5 feet an hour? You know?
Almost like maybe that's why they're critically endangered now. DM Scientist Chemist Auto Mechanic Wing for $2 says, while we're on the subject, turtles are the best tetrapod. I cannot disagree, but I also cannot confirm. So, put that out there. And also, turtles, generally speaking, are actually sort of, especially the time that Darwin was going around, were like famously delicious. And it was said by at least chefs in what's in the United States that you could basically replace turtles meat, or sorry, you could replace like poultry, beef, and lamb with different cuts of turtle meat. And it's one of the reasons why turtle soup was very popular, because you got a variety of different meat. Now, I've never had turtle, so I can't say, but I will say that turtle soup was very, very popular at the time. And yeah, there's a long history of people eating turtles. It's sort of fallen out of favor. I don't know why. But then again, hey, there are parts of the United States, if you happen to live in the United States, where the alligator snapping turtle is in fact an invasive species. And so maybe you can catch yourself an alligator snapping turtle for dinner. I don't know. Check with your local laws and like local game wardens and whatnot. Also, be careful. Alligator snapping turtles can take a finger off. So, you know.
You set him down, you go back to get him 3 days later, he's only 50 yards away. And they would eat him. They would just let them live on the ship until they're ready to eat them. Right. Yeah. So they just about wiped them out. Because it was such an, I mean, how hard is it to catch
Hey, he's
one?
right about that. Take a drink.
Real simple.
It's sad.
But picking them up gets to be a problem because they're huge. They know that they live 250 years, and some people suspect they live 400 years, those tortoises.
250 is a bit long, but it's not unreasonable, so we'll also take a drink for Kent getting it right there. Extremely long-lived. And I also believe he's right in that we don't have a firm estimate for when, like, what their normal lifespan is. Because if your normal lifespan is like 200 years, how many of them are we going to see die of old age that we can actually use as our data set? Not that many. So, I'll take a drink. It's not doing too bad today.
Not yet.
No, they don't get excited about much, you know, just kind of stay calm. Life's nerves don't get rattled very easily. Anyway, that's where these tortoises come from, Galapagos Islands. There are many, many islands to this Galapagos area. I don't know exactly how many, but they're there.
Oh, Alex Markle says Lonesome George has entered the chat. Yeah. Ooh. That's depressing. If you don't know who Lonesome George is and you want to have like a cry, go Google it later. Not a happy story.
On some of the major ones right there. And one of them is named Darwin, one is named Wolf, Pinta, and all these different names for these islands.
I feel like the people in the Galapagos already had names for them, and they probably didn't involve words like San Cristobal, or Española, or Santa Maria, or Los Hermanos 1. Which, what is there like Los Hermanos 2? Oh no, those are references to like the list of names lower on the page that he ripped this off of. Okay. Fair enough. Let's see. Esther Ryu means Star Dinosaur in Chinese for $4.99 says turtle is best tetrapod with more than one known extant member. Oh, leaving open the possibility that Ceratosaurus is actually the best tetrapod. Okay. Very nice. Yeah.
On these islands, Darwin noticed each of them had a slightly different type of finch. Now, finch is a real tiny.
That's simplified. Most islands had more than one species of finch, but the islands were host to endemic species of finch. So Kent's like, I don't know, half right, I guess?
Little bird. And since Darwin hated birds, he shot all the birds he could find.
Oh my goodness, this one again. Darwin didn't hate birds. He was shooting birds so that he could collect them for as specimens when he described them as a species, because that is a requirement. So I'm taking another drink. Goodness. Lost my mouse.
And collected them and stuffed them and mounted them, you know, for the museum.
Well, cursor.
And he noticed that they were all finches, but their beak shapes were different.
Wait, really? Vaguely local interdimensional cephalopods says the Galapagos never had an indigenous population of humans before the islands were discovered, either Polynesia or South Americans. Interesting. I guess that's believable given how remote they are. Well, hey then. I guess those Spaniards do get to name them things like Española and San Cristobal and Santa Maria and Los Hermanos. Good for them. It's like Tristan da Cunha. No one was living there. Actually, it also explains why the tortoises were so ill-adapted to interacting with humans, because if there had been long-term human inhabitation, they probably already would have been extinct. So yeah, I guess all that checks out. That makes sense. Stupid humans. Cross-platform adventures member for 9 months and at the amulet level says, by the way, rats eating tortoise eggs was also a big problem. Rats also ate the last palm tree seeds on Easter Island with a Mothra. Take a drink for the Mothra. Yeah. Rats are really bad as an invasive species. I mean, they're not quite like at mongoose levels, but like, holy crap. It's like mongoose are some of the most destructive, then it's like cats, and then it's like rats. And man, rats are everywhere. That's why rat cones were invented. Remember rat cones, Bent?
No, I don't.
On the lines mooring ships to the pier?
Oh, yeah.
All those little like aluminum cones so that rats can't climb.
Yeah, I remember them.
Yeah. Rat cones, great invention. I never saw a single rat on that ship.
Neither did I.
So, yay.
On some islands, the finches had to live on the ground because there weren't any trees. So if it's a ground-dwelling finch, he
Yeah, but there were really tall cacti.
noticed it had slightly different feet and slightly different beak for cracking, you know, nuts or something. If it lived in the trees, so he divided them up into sections. Those that eat berries, buds, and flowers on the bottom.
Uh-oh, everybody. I'm noticing that there are 92 people watching, but only 45 likes, which means that we don't even have half as many likes as we have viewers, meaning that once again, of course, I am saddened to report that I like less than half of you half as well as you deserve. You got Bilbo'd. Hit that like button. Help me out.
Left, that's got a B by it, comes from one of the islands over there. Some that eat insects and flowers, and some that eat fruit and nectar on the Cocos Island. So he divided these birds up, studied them an awful lot. He spent a lot of time classifying these birds based upon what they eat, where they live, you know, the available food, the shape of their beak. Now, a finch is only this big to begin with, okay?
I'm going to point out once, and then we're probably not going to address it again. These aren't technically finches. They're in... finches are in the family Thropidae. These are actually tanagers in the family Fringillidae, which is native to like South America and parts of Central America. Fringillidae and Thropidae are very close related, and there isn't a huge amount of like easily visually distinguishing differences between the two families. But it is technically inaccurate to call them finches. But then again, everyone calls them finches, not just Kent, so I'm not really criticizing him for this. I just want to point it out as a bit of a pedant. We're not drinking for it. It's not really a correction of Kent. It's just a thing that's true, and I want to point it out, and then we're going to move on, and I'm not going to continue to say, oh, well, they're not finches, because everyone gets it. Right? It's like saying every time someone mentions like a mantis shrimp, well, you know, it's not a mantis or a shrimp. Yeah, we get it.
Okay, so we're talking not very much. But after studying all these 14, he finally ended up with 14 varieties of finches. And what happened
Species, Kent. They were species, but okay.
was the birds apparently got blown off of South America in a storm, because it's quite a ways out to Galapagos. I think 200 miles maybe, I don't know, but it's quite a ways.
I don't know either. If anyone knows how far it is from the Galapagos Islands to the nearest mainland, well, let me know. Living pterodactyl immurement, therefore squawkney, for $2 says, ship cat greater than rat cones. AIG equals sack of sausage. We'll take a drink. Thank you very much. Yeah, there are advantages to ship cats, but they aren't a 100% like there will be no rats. So I actually tend to prefer rat cones to ship cats. Although here's a cool thing. You can do both. You can have rat cones and also just have a ship cat. Yeah.
That's crazy talk.
Yep. Also, I've met church cats because there are some Christian groups that don't allow any animals to be purposefully brought into their churches except for cats because they get rid of the other animals that aren't supposed to be in there. So that's a thing. Anyway, let's see. Also, I've met some very nice church cats. DM scientist chemist auto mechanic wing for $10 says you're in a desert. You look down. You see a turtle. Sorry, tortoise. We're going with tortoise this time. You reach down and you flip the tortoise over on its back. The tortoise lays on its back, baking in the hot sun, but you're not helping. Why is that, Dapper? Why would I help? I'm an android. I can't feel any sense of empathy. Yeah, I know it. It's a Blade Runner reference. Great movie, by the way. No matter which of the million different cuts that you see. That movie has so many different cuts that are available. There's like the theatrical cut. There's like the extended cut, the director's cut. It's like, oh my goodness. The definitive cut. Okay. Kent No Relation Halstead for $5, which is apparently their 5th super chat on the lives on this channel, says, who would win in a fight, the heat death of the universe or Kent Hovind's stupidity? No, Kent Hovind's stupidity is unfortunately eternal. See, what will eventually happen is, the heat death of the universe comes. Time to, depending on which theory of time you believe in, A or B theory, time may grind to a halt or simply continue on immeasurably into the distant future. Then eventually some kind of quantum foam will have another excitation just out of randomness, creating a new Big Bang and a new pocket within this area of space-time. It's merging into a whole new universe. And Kent's stupidity will be echoed in the pattern of the galaxies that form out of that second Big Bang. Echoing on into eternity. There's no escaping it. Yep. It's sad but true. That's the spookiest thing I could...
Science.
Yeah, it's the spookiest thing about real science that I could tell you on today's Halloween episode. All right, here we go.
Apparently this storm blew him out, and he ended up, a little tiny bird, ends up on the island. Can't get back. So he stays there. And they raise their families, and eventually, those that, if there's only seeds to eat, and it takes a pretty heavy beak to be able to crack the seed.
Silent Tetrapod for $5 says, how does a non-binary Klingon unalive someone in honorable combat? They slash them. Nice. Oh, hey, fun fact. Klingon only has one pronoun for beings capable of language. It's ha. So you don't have to worry about changing pronouns or adapting to new pronouns in Klingon. There's och, which is for irrational nouns. That is nouns that can't talk. And that's for like animals and inanimate objects and whatnot. And then for people like Klingons or humans or Vulcans or whatever, ach. So, way to go, Klingon. Which actually, that's not an unusual distinction in the world languages. Rational versus irrational, so.
The babies that are born that don't have a heavy beak can't crack the seed.
Oh, hey, look, Kent Hovind has figured out most of evolution. He's right. Let's take a drink. Evolution is real, guys. Cool.
So they die.
Or they just have less energy to expend on reproduction, so they have a relatively lower reproductive success. Because remember, selection isn't just binary, right? It's not like, oh, you're selected against, and so you die without children. Or you're selected for, so you reproduce, and that's it. It's differential reproductive success. So, like, if you have 2 kids, but your neighbor has 10 kids, that neighbor is more fit than you in an evolutionary sense. It doesn't mean he's worth more. It doesn't mean he's better as a person. It just means that in terms of how we measure fitness in evolution, that person is going to be more fit. Now, you usually carry it on to grandchildren, so that might not actually be the case. Like, if none of their 10 kids go on to reproduce, but both of yours do, and you have, like, I don't know, 15 grandkids out of those just 2 kids, which, my goodness, that sounds like a nightmare, but still, then you would end up being more fit overall, but whatever. We're simplifying a bit.
Suppose we said, we're going to go through Pensacola and kill everybody who is under 6 feet tall.
I actually think that might be something that Kent I wouldn't put it past Kent. I'll just say that. I don't think he would do it, but I don't think he wouldn't do it because of like moral or ethical reasons. The only reason I don't think he would do it is because he knows how unpopular it would be and how much harder it would be to get donations afterwards. Because remember, Kent has absolutely not a single, like, bone of, like, moral consciousness in him. This is a man who let a known predator of underage persons spend the night in an otherwise abandoned and unfurnished house that was furnished with a single mattress with a young child whom that person had brought there in violation of the terms of his release into the public on one of those registries you might have heard of. And that person is now currently under like an indictment regarding that whole situation. So, yeah. That's Kent Hovind. Living pterodactyl immurement, therefore squawkney, for $2 says Klingon gender roles. Biter and bitey. Actually, it's more thrower and dodger. That's the gender roles. Yeah, the Klingon mating ritual involves the one of the partners throwing heavy objects at the other, while the one who's having heavy objects thrown at them tries to dodge while reading poetry. That's Klingon foreplay right there. I'm not kidding, by the way. That's an actual thing. That's part of the lore. So those are the two gender roles in Klingon.
Well, there you go.
Both bite, though. Yeah.
Full grown, but under 6 feet tall. We kill them all. Then we wait about 20 years and do it again. Wait about 20 years and do it again.
Living pterodactyl immurement, therefore squawkney, for $2 says AIG equals tote of tangled tentacles. I'll take a drink for that. Vadim Slomovsky Radchenko says baseball sexuals? No, that's far too light. You gotta go up to like a bowling ball, but like one of the ones for kids as like your minimum mass requirement for this to be effective. Like, if you don't have a good chance of breaking a bone, you're just not doing Klingon foreplay right.
Eventually, you've got an entire population of people that are over 6 feet tall. Because the genes for less than 6 feet are gone. You weeded them out of the population.
Okay, so I know what Kent's getting at, but we're going to take a quick drink because human height is not just genetic. It is largely heritable, but things like nutrition are an important part of that. Which also means it is time for me to pour a new beer. Yep, that was the last bit of that first beer. So, here comes the second one. Got my bottle opener here. We'll try to do another nice pour. That first pour that I did didn't even have a full mono layer of bubbles. It had less than that, which is pretty ideal for me. For me, a mono layer of bubbles is the minimum acceptable for beer pour. I would prefer it be better than that. Also, Crack McCranium has just gifted a Dapper Dinosaur membership. It went to H.L. Aristoteles. So let's take a drink for H.L. Aristoteles. Here we go. 1. Thank you very much. Just in time for me to finish pouring that beer. I really appreciate that. Okay. Well, let's continue on. By the way, if you have received a new membership, make sure you go to your Discord if you have Discord. If you don't get Discord, just go do it. Go to settings, go to connections. Add the YouTube account that you have the membership with to your connections. You'll be automatically added to my Discord server. Living pterodactyl immurement, therefore squawkney, says for $2 the only sentences Young Earth creationists finish are in prison. Ooh.
Indeed.
Actually, Kent has been to prison like far more than I think any other professional Young Earth creationist I'm aware of. So,
Yeah, I think he likes it.
I mean, he seems to be trying to go back, what with the whole like spousal abuse thing going on.
Yeah.
That's called selective survival. They do that. Dog breeders do this all the time.
Selective survival? Just call it natural selection, Kent. I've never heard of anyone call it selective survival. It doesn't really have much to do with survival. The whole survival of the fittest thing is a bit of a misnomer. It's differential reproductive success and natural selection. Natural selection is one of the causes of differential reproductive success, which is the driver of selection, or what is a driver in evolution. It is what eliminates certain alleles, or even entire genes, from the gene pool.
the time. It's called selective breeding. If you want a dog with a long curly hair, well, then you pick out the puppies that have the longest, curliest hair, and you only let them crossbreed to the next one that has the long curly hair, and eventually you've got a whole breed of long curly-haired dogs.
Yes, that is how breeding works, Kent. We'll take a drink. You got that right. Okay, we got a couple things. Strawberry Vein says, I'm the shortest member of my family, and my mom likes to remind me that she didn't feed me very well as a baby. Thanks, Mom. What the hell, man?
Wow.
That's ridiculous. I do not approve of this. But Living Pterodactyl Immurement, therefore Squawkney, was gifted a membership by DM Scientist Chemist Auto Mechanic Wing. Thank you very much. We'll take a drink for that. Goodness. I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say. That's kind of ridiculous, Strawberry Vein. But on the other hand, hey, there's nothing wrong with being short. But also, Savage Bam. I can't talk. I can't say this word. Savage Pan Bovicetaceae Cobra has just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. They went to Lady Moonweb, Chris McDaniel, Hollyhock, Aunt Jer. You know, I did learn English in Massachusetts. And Gregory Nietsky. I'm going to go with Nietsky this time. I don't actually know. All right, here come 5 more drinks. 1, 2. I do want to respond to something. So, Vadim Slamovsky-Radchenko says, Dr. David Wood is a diagnosed psychopath, which I do know about, who spent 10 years in jail for smashing. I do know about the incident with his father. But I actually don't know if he's a creationist. I know he's an anti-Islam guy and a Christian apologist, but I actually don't know if he does any creationist stuff, which if he does, I would be interested to take a look at it. If you're aware of any creationist anti-evolution stuff that David Wood does, send it to me. And I mean that. Send it to me, because I would be very interested to cover that. All right, here comes 3, 4, and 5. April Van Ryn for 5 Beaver Bucks says, "Call me April. I read in it the Tombstone Times Tribute, Herald Tribune Van Ryn with a Godzilla." We'll take a drink for the Godzilla. Oh yes, the Tombstone whatever newspaper that never actually published that article about the pterosaurs being killed, even though creationists love to repeat that. By the way, when I say professional creationists in terms of Kent Hovind, I mean someone who makes a living by attempting to spread or defend young Earth creationism. So that's what I mean by a professional young Earth creationist, right? I don't just mean a young Earth creationist with a job. Right? So, and if you happen to be a young Earth creationist, even if you're an apologist, but your apologetics isn't about young Earth creationism, then I don't really count you as a professional young Earth creationist. So, for instance, if what I am remembering about David Wood, that he doesn't talk about creationism as part of his apologetic ministry, is correct, then I would not consider him a professional young Earth creationist, even though he's a Christian apologist who does that professionally. So, there you go. All right, more Kent.
Probably nearly all the varieties of dogs we have today came from this process. It's called selective or artificial selection.
It is called that, so we'll take a drink for Kent getting that right. But also, it's incredibly dumb to think that we got all of the variety of dogs that way. So let's take another drink and we'll talk about land races. So a land race is a variety of a domesticated animal that has not arisen through artificial selection by intent from humans selecting animals, right? So, for instance, there are the pariah dogs in India, so-called because the majority of their population live as sort of outcasts in urban and suburban areas, feeding off of trash and whatnot. But they have a particular set of morphological traits that they evolved naturally through natural selection, through close association with humans. And they're dogs, right? They have the genetic makeup of a domesticated dog. Another example is the dingo. The dingo is a land race of domesticated dog that has adapted over the past few tens of thousands of years to living as a feral animal in Australia. And before that, it was brought with the original settlers. I don't know, what do you call it when the first people ever show up to a place? What are those people?
Sure, settlers.
Okay, sure. The first settlers, whose descendants, oh, sorry, I bumped my microphone, whose descendants now make up the native population of Australia, they brought them with them. Probably as pets, because otherwise why would you put a dog on your boat that you're sailing to Australia? I don't know. But enough of them escaped. But they're still domesticated dogs, and in fact, they can still be kept as pets. Now, they are tricky to keep as pets because they do have a lot of adaptations to living as feral animals that, most domesticated dogs don't. But these are land races. They were not bred to be that way. And yet they are varieties of dogs. And there are other varieties of various domesticated organisms that are in fact land races. It's not just dogs. So, April Van Ryn for 5 Beaver Bucks says, second try. Call me April, I read it in the Tombstone Times Herald Tribune, Van Ryn, Godzilla. There you go. We'll take another drink for the Godzilla. Also, if you're actually asking me to call you that every time I read a super chat, there's no way I'm going to remember all of it. So, sorry. Maybe if you change your screen name to that, it'll actually come up, and then I'll be able to actually physically read it. All right. There we go. We got a little bit more Kent. We're going to be taking a break pretty soon here, so stand by for that, but we're going to get more Kent in. Also, it looks like Kent is about to sneeze.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I bet he doesn't.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, natural selection is where nature decides which one survives.
Well, nature doesn't decide, right? It's just that certain organisms are more or less well adapted to their environment, which results in more or less reproduction. But it's not like nature's an intelligent organism, so.
In the case of the Galapagos Islands, if there are no trees to live on, then birds that require trees for safety aren't going to survive. Those that can live on the ground and survive against whatever predators are available, they can survive. So I want you to be able to explain for the quiz the difference between natural selection and artificial selection.
Kent, you're doing my job. I'm supposed to explain evolution. You're supposed to pretend that it's wrong. Come on, man. This is how it works. We have a symbiotic relationship this way, and you're ruining it. You're like the sea anemone that eats the clownfish. Bad move, man. It's not cool. This is not your job. This is my job. What are these people paying me for?
Basically, natural selection, nature, through either cold weather or warm weather or some natural factor, would influence who survives.
I mean, it's a lot more than that. It's not just weather, but yeah, that's a factor. We'll talk about what the environment actually counts as after we read out that Dr. Tapioca Weasel has just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. They went to Liz D, Sable Eagle, Marianne the Night Owl, Fitz of Carl Boz, English Teacher's Rage, there we go, and Becca Justiniano. Sounds very Italian. Justiniano. And Vagri, Shipfish, who's been a member for 19 months at the tetrapod level, sends a jack-o'-lantern and a Godzilla. So we will take 6 drinks. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Liz D has asked how to get on the Discord. All right. Go to your settings on Discord. There will be a section called Connections. Click on that, and you will be able to connect your YouTube account to your Discord account. And that will automatically add you to my server for supporters. That's for patrons and channel members. By the way, which means if you join on Patreon, do the same thing, but with your Patreon account, not your YouTube account. Or, do it with your YouTube account, too, if you want to. But, yeah. All right, so, the environment. The environment is literally anything outside of the organism, right? So, this computer is part of my environment, right? If I jump in the pool, that pool is my environment. If you're a mouse and you have hawks looking to eat you or owls looking to eat you, that's part of your environment. The other organisms that are part of your own species are part of your environment, right? So if you go to the grocery store, all those other people around you, that's part of your environment. It's literally anything that is not internal to the organism. For single-cell organisms, that's literally anything on the outside of their cell wall that isn't part of the cell wall. That's the environment. It's not just the weather. It's not just predators. It's conspecifics. It's heterospecifics. It's the weather. It's the substrate. It's the atmosphere. It's the everything. All of that is the environment. Vagary, local interdimensional cephalopod, member for 5 months and is at the annual level, says, AIG is a pugnacious pack of pickled peccary peckers. Oh, okay, I have a thing to say about peccaries in just a second. But there's a drink for that. So, there are a bunch of areas here in the Southwest, like Arizona, Nevada, Texas, where the collared peccary, which is a species of peccary, you might be unsurprised to learn, also called the javelina in Spanish, but also a lot of times in English-speaking areas, because, you know, we get a lot of influence from Spanish around here, are just wrecking up golf courses. And when you look at, like, comments on, like, news stories reporting on this, everyone is on the side of the peccaries, and I love it. Like, screw your golf courses. It's a waste of water. Go javelina. Team javelina for life right there. Not that I want to tangle with one in person, because, you know, they can be ornery, and they're very dangerous. They have very, very sharp tusks. But still, I'm on Team Javelina when it comes to the javelina versus golf course conflict. Savage Pan Bovacetacea Cobra, who's been a member for 11 months and is at the annual level, says, what if one was to tow the organism outside of the environment? Then the new place you tow it to would be its new environment. There you go. All right, so we're going to get a little bit more Kent in, but then after we stop to talk about whatever his next thing is, and then instead of going back to him, we'll take a quick break. All right, here we go. Kent, take it away.
And artificial selection is where somebody on the outside, like a human being normally, decides, I'm going to let these survive and breed, and these will not survive. Cattle farmers do that all the time. You get a bull or a cow that's a little sickly, well, you don't want that breeding back into the herd and spreading the defect around. So artificial selection is extremely rapid, what you can do. Darwin used artificial selection raising his pigeons. And
It's true. He did do that. And we'll take a drink for that. And we'll talk about his pigeon fancier thing for a little bit. I'm going to read a couple super chats. Living Pterodactyl, Immurement, therefore Squawkany, for $2 says, humans are an environmental hazard with Godzilla. We'll take a drink for that because, yeah, that's true. Well, it's true in some cases, right? There are definitely some organisms who thrive in the presence of humans, like raccoons, right? Like, did you know there's a raccoon epidemic in parts of Spain because people imported them as pets and they got out, and they're just so damn adaptable and they are so good at living in human cities? Like, that's a thing. Yeah. So, for most animals, yes, humans are a big environmental hazard. But for some of them, like rats, raccoons, dogs, corvids generally, yeah, no, humans are great. And Strawberry Vein says, for $5, I'm literally giving you money just because you said Nevada right. God bless you. Well, thank you. I mean, look, I've spent plenty of time in Nevada. I liked most of it. Didn't like all of it. But yeah, no, I generally like Nevada. There was that time that I had to drive a van laden down with like several hundred pounds of just solid metal in like the back through like from like Pocatello to was it Phoenix through Nevada. And oh my goodness, it had no acceleration, and so I was just stuck behind these trucks on these 2-lane highways all throughout northern Nevada, and I hated it. But other than that, I generally like Nevada. There was a barbecue place I used to go to outside Vegas, and oh my goodness, their ribs, it's like they slow cooked them for like 36 hours or something. They were just fall off the bone. And they had such great sauces. It was honestly, it was like being in a barbecue place down south, right? It was like being in South Carolina or Virginia or something. Great. Oh, and they had fried okra. So I have a whole bunch of fond memories of Nevada. Okay, so Darwin and pigeons. So contra to Kent's assertion that Darwin hated birds, Darwin in fact quite liked birds, and he kept a number of pigeons, and he kept various breeds, and he bred pigeons. And in fact, if you look at The Origin of Species, a lot of the examples that he uses of selection are artificial selection with the pigeons that he and others bred, because, you know, he was part of a pigeon fancier community. And yeah, so they formed a lot of the experimental bases for the observational and theoretical work that he did on his trip on the Beagle. So, he had a lot of ideas on the Beagle, and then when he got back and started, breeding his pigeons, he used that to help inform those ideas. So that was a big part of going into, the origin of species. It's a big part of why they're so prominent in that book, if you actually go and read it. Living pterodactyl immurement, therefore squawk knee, for $2 says, desert golf courses should be sand except grass traps. Grass traps. Look, just use AstroTurf, right? It's not ideal, but it's such a huge waste of water, and we don't have that much water. Farmers have been having their water allotments in Arizona cut over and over the past few years. I think they're down now to less than half of what they were just 5 years ago. And the city of Tucson just voted to start recycling wastewater back into the drinking system because there isn't enough water. And I say this while I've been to water treatment facilities in Phoenix, Arizona, and the water comes in an open trench. That's just so much is being lost to the evaporation, right? Just cover it. Cover the trench. Put a little plastic cover over it, man. So, yeah, the Arizona and water policy is just absolutely bonkers, and I kind of hate it. I overall like Arizona. I like the heat. I like the dryness. I like the flora, the fauna. There's a lot that I love about Arizona. But holy crap, the policies on water are just absolutely absurd, and I hate it. Anyway, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to get myself a couple more beers. You guys can go do whatever kind of biological stuff you need. We're going to listen to the musical stylings of one Bent Hovind, and then we're going to be back. Also, there's going to be some ads, and yeah, I know YouTube is getting a little bit more annoying by forcing you to watch more ads, but sorry, they do help pay the bills. So with that, we're going to be out of here for just a few minutes. Please stick with us. We will be right back.
Okay, I'll be right back.
All right, welcome back to everyone, I guess. Bent, welcome back. We got a few things to read, and then I'm going to go into a quick little commercial, and we're getting more Kent. Eddie McCoy joined the channel at the Seropsid level. Thank you very much for the generosity. In case anyone is wondering, that is the $10 level, so I really do appreciate that. Aster Ryu means star dinosaur in Chinese. We have for $4.99 said, what is an AIG? A miserable little pile of peckers. Dracula, Symphony of the Night. I don't think that's an entirely accurate quotation, but I will take a drink for it.
Sounds good.
Also, Living Pterodactyl, Immurement, therefore Squawk Knee for $2 says, Earth, 0.75 water desalination or die. Cali, 800-mile coast. All right. Unfortunately, Arizona cannot desalinate water because there's no ocean adjacent to Arizona. It is landlocked, which, by the way, as someone who was in the Navy, I greatly appreciate.
Yeah.
So, all right. Real quick, I like to do my little sort of commercial thing right after the break, which is to say, hey, guys, this channel is almost entirely supported directly through the funding that is provided by my audience, whether it be on Patreon, on channel memberships, super chats, super thanks, the merch store, or even just my Amazon wish list, or Bet's Amazon wish list for that matter, because all of that goes a long way to helping out. This channel would not be where it is today without your support. And if you are someone who is currently not actively supporting monetarily, but you would like to change that, you're interested in helping to support the channel to make it bigger and better, to make it so that, you know, maybe I can take a vacation someday. To be fair, I did take a quick trip to California this year, so I guess I did technically take a bit of a vacation. Although I had to squeeze it between shows, so, you know. It was like less than a weekend. But hey, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, there are a number of great ways to help support. Now, I do know there are some more super chats coming in. I'm going to say them after this little spiel. First one is the Patreon. Both Bent and I have Patreons that are linked in the description. For me, the Patreon starts at only $1 a month. It goes all the way up to $100 a month if you're feeling super generous. You get a 10% discount if you go annually. Sorry, 12% discount if you go annually. 1% per month. There you go. That's how to remember it. I'll maybe remember it from now on. I don't know. That gets you access to early access stuff. You can get your name in the credits. At high enough levels, you can like request videos. You can request certain 3D assets that I've made for the channel. Like you can have your own copy of the Dapper Dinosaur avatar if you want to. There are certain things I can't send you for licensing reasons, but like I can send you a copy of the avatar. Just have to request it if you're at the right level. Same thing with the videos that you can request. You do actually have to request them. I'm not gonna like keep poking you for them. If you don't request them, then I don't make them. But still, it's all right there. Beethoven, you can get early access to like behind the scenes music and stuff like that. There's like not non-final, but like work in progress mixes that you can download. And of course, you can get most of his music for free anyway in the final version. But if you want like preview stuff, that's on his Patreon. Both of us also have wish lists. So if you want to help out that way, mine is, there's a combination of stuff for the channel and also just stuff for me. So like there's RPG books, but there's also like electronic equipment that would help the channel. Like, you know, a replacement for one of my monitors that doesn't like to come on all the time. Because that's getting frustrating, I'll be honest. But there's also a Teespring store down in the description. There are baby onesies, t-shirts, mugs, blankets, pillows, stickers, phone cases, all sorts of stuff, all with Dapper Dinosaur. So feel free to check that out. And then here's the thing, right? There's the channel memberships. Join link below this channel. You get the same early access. You get access to the Discord server, all that great stuff, right? And if, however, you're not in a position to help financially, or a monthly or annual thing just isn't your big thing, then there are other options, right? If you can't help financially, please like this video, press share, right? Because here's the thing, right? I got 70 shares last week, which is nice because it's an up from like the 35 or so I've been getting for the past few weeks. But here's the other thing. On a given week, about 5,000 individual people watch my channel. And I can't get to 100 shares. And there are 107 people watching right now. And when I say share, all I mean is like open up your Facebook or Instagram or your Shitter or your Blue Sky or your Mastodon or your whatever, Kick, I don't care. And just share a video. Just share it to your timeline and your feed or whatever you want to call it, right? That helps out immensely. Now, with that out of the way, we are going to read a few things here that have come in. Let's see. Dr. Tapioca Weasel for $10 says, wait, hold on. People pay for this? Yes, actually they do, Dr. Tapioca Weasel, and I greatly appreciate it. For $2, Living Pterodactyl Immurement, therefore Squawkney says, I still think self-gifted memberships should count. I understand why you think that. I'll say that. Savage Panbovestation Cobra for $5 says, AIG is a bag of Rhode Island School of Design mascots. Take a drink. Okay, here's more Kent.
He got some extremely wild-looking, fancy pigeons.
True.
They were still
I'll take a
pigeons.
drink for it.
But he noticed you could, with artificial selection.
Yes, because it is literally impossible for them to be anything other than pigeons. This is something that not only does Kent not get, I once spent an entire night literally on the phone with Cindy Lincoln trying to get her to understand monophyly. That once something is a member of a clade, it can never exit that clade. That the common ancestor of all dogs was a dogs. The common ancestor of all members of genus Canis, all the canonins? I don't know what to say. All those members were all members of genus Canis. That all the canids, the original canid was a member of like the ancestor of all canids was a canid. The common ancestor of all caniformes was a caniform, right? The common ancestor of all carnivorans was a carnivoran. And after staying up until like 5 a.m. my time, starting this call at like 10 p.m. my time, which is like
it's a long time.
8 a.m. her time or something. At the end, she still just was like, no. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go to bed then. I do not know why it is that creationists refuse to accept this, but it is just a thing. The law of monophyly remains. Monophyly is a thing. Steve Reno for $5 says, Happy Halloween spooky story. Imagine a world without pelagic tunicates. Oh, that sounds great. Good luck sleeping tonight. Oh, absolutely. I will be imagining a pelagic tunicate-less world, and it will be awesome. Take a drink, though. Okay, here we go.
You could get some incredible varieties in the pigeon family. There are probably hundreds of varieties of pigeons. And then Darwin said, well, if I can do this in just my lifetime and can raise all these hundreds of varieties of pigeons, what can nature do for millions of years? Well,
yeah, that's actually a good question.
Nature could probably produce a variety of pigeons too, Charlie.
Mm-hmm. Yep. In fact, a variety so varied that you might have trouble recognizing them as being related at all at first glance. You talk about the fact that small change in small time could add up to large change over large time, Kent, even though they remain pigeons. In fact, my most popular video is all about the speculative evolution of canaries. And by that I mean most popular in terms of view count. And by a lot, right? Like, it's got 69,000 views right now, which is pretty nice. Yeah. My next most viewed video has 19,000 views. It is a huge jump. So, yeah.
But it's still a pigeon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how evolution works, Ken. I'm just going to take a drink for Kent just obstinately refusing for decades to understand the very basics of how evolution works.
He has no clue how it works.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't want to know. That's the thing.
It's still a bird.
Yeah. And all the ancestor of all birds was a bird, Kent. I know that you know this because, okay, to be fair, after this was filmed, I told Kent this in our debate, which, by the way, if you haven't seen, you should check it out. But check out the audio remaster version because for some reason my original upload had my audio really low. And the only difference between the audio remaster and the original is just that my audio has been brought up primarily by taking it from Kent Hovind's copy of the video, where for some reason my audio was better. So, I don't know. That is just what it is. It's the one that I have up prominently on like my channel page. DM Scientist Chemist Automechanic Wing, you still haven't watched that video? That's the video that I get the clip of Kent Hovind not knowing what a dinosaur is from. Right? You know that bit where he's like, where I ask, like, how would you identify a dinosaur? You, personally, you just, he's like, well, I don't know, I'd have to look into that. It's from that video. It's great. It's my favorite thing that I've ever done on channel, is get Kent Hovind to admit that he does not even know what a dinosaur is, despite calling himself Dr. Dino and entering into a debate about whether or not birds are dinosaurs. It's amazing. Because, of course, you know, to answer the question, are birds dinosaurs? The first thing you need to know is what is a bird. And the second thing you need to know is what is a dinosaur. And he doesn't know what a dinosaur is. He admitted it live. It's amazing. And that was the debate that I did after Bent and some of his associates, if you will, basically bullied me into it. They're like, no, you got to debate Kent. Come on, I want to see how it'll go.
Pretty much.
And I don't think they expected it to go that badly for Kent. So
it was a pretty great debate.
Yeah, you should definitely
check
it out.
One of the best.
And I know it sounds like I'm just tooting my own horn, and to some extent, yeah, I am, but still. Living
it is one of the best debates.
Yeah,
with Kent Hovind.
Living Pterodactyl Immurement Therefore Squawkney says, why you see Flintstone verse had to worry about dino flu instead of avian flu. Yeah.
And somehow he got it into his head on this voyage that if we can see these little variations produced over a short lifespan, what would millions of years do?
That's not that crazy of a thing, right? That's a question. So, okay. If I watch a stream, say, near where I live, I wrote a little channel, I can then ask, well, what would a stream do if it were left to run for 1,000 years, or 10,000 years, or 100,000 years, or 1,000,000 years? And the answer seems to be it might just keep making the channel bigger, or maybe it would have wrote a longer channel, right? Like or a wider channel. Like, I don't know, but it's a good question to ask, right? And so Darwin thought, well, maybe the morphological changes could be more and more extreme, such that over the course of, say, 2 or 3 million years, it might be hard to identify these organisms as finches. Maybe they would change a lot. And yet they would still retain some of the vital characteristics that linked them together, which is the pattern that Linnaeus saw, right? Way back before Darwin, like 100+ years before Darwin. Linnaeus saw these patterns of similarity among animals. That's why he created his whole taxonomic classification scheme that we still mostly use today. And Darwin was like, well, wait, if we can make the small changes at like the genus and family and species level with this natural selection, which is parallel to artificial selection, why couldn't we do it a bit higher up? What about the class level, or the order level, or the phylum level, or even the kingdom level, or even just all of life? Like, what stops it? And he couldn't think of anything that would stop it. Kent can't either, but the difference is, Kent will just say, well, it can't work, even though he has no mechanism to stop it. And what he actually needs is a mechanism to stop it, not just incredulity. He needs to say, if he wants to say, well, things can't evolve past their kind, not only does he need to define what a kind is, he also has to describe what barriers would be there that would prevent things from evolving past their kinds. And he doesn't have either of those things. Strawberry Vein, for $5, says, that's where I found out that your real name is Timothy, of all things. Yeah, what's wrong with Timothy? It's a great name. I've had that name my whole life. I like that name. And yeah, it was a little bit weird that Kent insisted on calling me Timothy. It didn't bother. Oh, sorry, I bumped the spit card there. It didn't bother me, but it was a little weird. But then again, he's of an age where like people don't always know. So, all right.
And that's where he went from science into fantasy, daydreaming, that maybe this proves the birds and the bananas have a common ancestor.
No, he didn't think it proved it, because Charles Darwin was too smart to think that proof worked in things like natural philosophy, which is what they called science at the time. So we'll take a drink. But also, that's just what science is, right? you make observations, and then your next step, generally speaking, and I just finished off my beer, so it's time to open a new one, is that you make a guess, right? An educated guess, granted, because you base it off the observations and what else you know. So I'm going to read my unfinished channels $5 super chat real quick. Regarding monophyly, are all domestic dogs Asiatic gray wolves? If not, why not? My understanding is that yes, they are. However, I am not a dog geneticist, so take my statements with a grain of salt. So yeah, that is what it is. I cannot say with a huge degree of confidence, but my understanding is that currently the consensus is that all domesticated dogs share a common ancestry in the form of a population of Asiatic gray wolves some few tens of thousands of years ago. Oh, okay. Put the bottle down. Anyway, let's see. I think I lost my train of thought talking about dogs. Oh, right, science. Here we go. So, you make your observations, then you make a guess. Educated guess, right? So, what did Darwin have? He had Linnaeus, he had his observations, and it wasn't just that, oh, we have multiple different kinds of finches here, right? He also noticed that the flora and fauna of the Galapagos Islands was most closely aligned to the very distant flora and fauna of South America. And in the idea of special creation, where God creates different organisms for each area, and he specially creates them, there's no particular reason to expect that there should be this biogeographic pattern that looks like these animals were just blown in from South America. Why would that be? It doesn't make sense unless there's some kind of history there that special creation can't account for. Living pterodactyl Enmearment, therefore Squawkney for $2 says, did your Navy name tape say Dapper or Dino? Dino. Oh. Well, it was dinosaur because we had to be very formal in the Navy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but that's just the next step. And then the step after that is you do experiments to see if your ideas make sense, right? That is what Charles Darwin was doing when he was doing things like breeding pigeons and doing experiments with various other organisms back home, because he did do that. And then once you've come up with observations, a hypothesis, tests that confirm or disconfirm, now it's time to start publishing. Now, he dragged his heels on that for quite a while, but he did eventually publish. At the time, there was really no such thing as peer review, so we can't really dock him for not getting a peer-reviewed paper published. Instead, just publishing a book, because that's how it was done at the time. And yeah, that's just science. Kent complaining about this is just Kent complaining about science being science. Yeah, the guy who says, oh, I love science. No, Kent, you don't. Because not only do you deny it, you also think that the very process is stupid, Kent. And how do I know? Right here. You are currently calling the process of science stupid. So, yeah, let's hit play on that.
He just went way off, way beyond reality. And
according to you, but that's still how you do science. You come up with some crap that you're going to test.
Assuming that this would somehow go farther. If we took all of the rabbits in the world, captured them all, turned them loose in Alaska.
That would be a lot of rabbits, but okay.
The vast majority would freeze the first year.
I don't know. I think it depends on which parts of Alaska, right? Because you got that little thin strip of Alaska that comes down south that kind of like cuts off half of Canada's like western coastline. I'll bet down south there they'd probably be okay.
But a few would survive. Those that have the thicker fur would survive.
Thicker fur, lighter colored fur, maybe lower metabolisms. I don't know. There's a bunch of options, but yeah, Kent's mostly right. We'll take a drink. Yeah.
Or those that have a bigger body. I was up in Saskatoon, Canada.
No province, just Canada. Okay. I was once in, Denver, America.
Saskatchewan, Canada.
Oh, okay. Now we get the province.
I was on this plane going up there to preach up in Saskatoon, and the whole plane is full of hunters from Alabama and Texas and Georgia. I mean, I was about the only one that wasn't a hunter on the plane. A bunch of rednecks. I got talking to the guy next to me. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm going up to go deer hunting in Saskatchewan." I said, where are you from? He said, Alabama. I said, you got all kinds of deer in Alabama. He said, oh, not as big as they got up here.
This doesn't seem implausible so far, but also Dr. Tapioca Weasel just gifted a membership, so let's take a drink and see who it went to. It was Helen R. Welcome to the channel memberships. Helen R. Thank you very much, Dr. Tapioca Weasel. I do appreciate it. All right, I'm going to play again.
Deer up in Canada are much bigger than the deer down south here.
I have no idea if that's true, but it doesn't seem obviously wrong.
So they shoot them. All they want's the head. It costs them $5,000 to go in there, shoot the deer. They leave the meat for the local Indians. All they get's the head, and then it...
Kent, it's the local First Nation peoples, and this doesn't seem very plausible, but okay. The local animals.
That's Kent for you.
Yeah, it's wonderful that we're getting our just second instance of just casual bigotry. Just, okay, whatever.
It cost them a couple $100 to get it shipped back to the United States and stuffed and mounted to hang on the wall. But they're huge deer. I don't know the numbers, but I would guess an average deer here in Florida might weigh 80 or 100 pounds. Average deer up there might weigh 200 pounds. Up in Illinois or Minnesota, the deer are bigger, but not as big as Canadian deer. Now, why would even the crows, if you compare a crow here to the crows you saw in...
Kent, it probably has something to do with the fact that having a higher or a bigger size means that your volume to surface area ratio is going to be better in terms of keeping heat in. That's why Arctic animals tend to be stockier. They tend to have smaller extremities like ears and noses. Yeah, that probably is all of it. I think he's just going to get into like more things that are true about natural selection for some reason. I don't know. Living pterodactyl immurement, therefore squawkney for $2 says poop pelletization proves moose are giant rabbits. I don't think it does, but
It does.
Well, I'm not a zoologist, so maybe.
Wyoming. The crows are much bigger. Why is that, you think?
Bigger body, less surface area for the heat.
Exactly right. Bigger body, they can survive the cold better.
Oh, nice. That guy got it perfectly. Let's take a drink for that. I'm impressed. He got it right. Means the bigger body means less surface area per unit volume. That's well done, sir. I'm honestly impressed. I don't think most people get that. Now, obviously, most of my audience would get it because they are a cut above, but still. Living pterodactyl immurement, therefore squawking you for $2 says, polite deer get bigger, eh? Maybe they do. And then sends, of course, a maple leaf.
Smaller crows couldn't survive. Bigger crows can survive colder weather. Eskimos generally are shorter and stockier.
I think Eskimo was still acceptable at the time that this was filmed, so I'm not going to drink for the more casual bigotry, but...
Whereas a long, lanky person has more surface area exposed that can't tolerate the cold as well.
Okay.
It's just, that would be an example of natural selection. However, it's very limited.
By what, Kent?
Natural selection has worked on the rabbit populations to the point where the Alaska rabbits, because they got a short summer and long winter, they have a certain breeding cycle where they have their babies at a certain time of the year, and if you have the babies too late, they die. Have them too early, they die. So down in Florida, they don't have that problem. Florida rabbits and Alaska rabbits cannot interbreed.
I'm going to assume that's true. I don't actually know.
They're considered a different subspecies. Now, Florida rabbits and Minnesota rabbits can breed just fine. And Minnesota rabbits and Alaska rabbits can breed just fine.
Is Kent describing a ring species one of the better evidences that, I'm using the creationist term evidences intentionally because he's a creationist, one of the better evidences of speciation, and therefore, the origin of species, the entire point of Darwin's book that Kent's complaining about. Is he explaining it reasonably well, despite the fact that it kind of contradicts his whole point?
Seems like it.
They're halfway between. But you now have the two extremes, which are no longer interfertile.
Okay.
And so people will say, see, that's an example of speciation. Okay,
Well, it would be if the in-between rabbits went away. Yeah.
well, if you want to call that speciation, then I agree.
I do actually want to call that speciation, as long as you get rid of the intermediate populations that allow gene flow between the two species.
But the Bible doesn't talk about species.
Do we have to pull out the Vulgate again?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
All right, let's pull out the Vulgate. Come on, Vulgate. There we go. All right. So I am going to switch scenes real quick so we can see. All right, and I'll zoom in. Oh, hey, what's Specium? Oh, that's species, but just, not in the nominative case. Interesting. Let's see what else we get. Come on, there we go. Oh, look, there it is in the nominative case. Fiateque Deus, so God created in the let's see, all the great animals that live and move, he produced in the water in their own species. Oh man, and all the flying. Oh, we got genus here. All the flying animals, and God saw it and said, "It's good." Oh man. God also said, "Let the earth produce the living animals in their genera, in their innumerable genera, and the reptiles and beasts of the earth, and according to their species." Yeah. Look at that. And God created the beasts of the earth according to their species. Interesting. Okay, so the Bible certainly talks about species according to the Vulgate, at least. It's almost like species is a word derived from Latin, and the people who had that word originally, the Latin speakers, thought that was a great translation for at least some instances of the translation of the word that in English comes out as kind. So, just a quick little thing there. Yeah. Dr. Tapioca Weasel, should someone buy you the Vulgate? Nah, it's easily available online. I don't need a hard copy.
Bible talks about kinds.
Yeah, and it translates that word into species in Latin several times, just in Genesis 1. Fun times.
And if you would put the Alaska rabbit and the Florida rabbit and the Minnesota rabbit in a cage and bring up all the 7-year-olds in the world and say, what are these? Oh, those are rabbits. It's the same kind of animal. I mean, use your head.
Hey, Kent, remember that time that you asked a bunch of kids whether or not 2 different squirrels were the same kind on one of your live streams, and they said no, and then you were like, nah, of course they are. It's almost like your own standard of evidence doesn't even work for you. I'm just going to take a drink for that one, because that was hilarious. Borg Emporia, who's been a member for 6 months and is at the amniote level, says, I heard a rumor that Dapper Dinosaur dressed as the most vile and yet awesome thing on Earth. A pelagic tunic for Halloween. Turtle, Godzilla turtle. That is a lie, sir. And I do not appreciate that. That is, in fact, libel, and you will be hearing from my dinosaur lawyer, probably, maybe. But I'll take a drink for it anyway, because I'm thirsty. And I forgot that wasn't a drink trigger. Oh, well.
There's a Godzilla in there.
Oh, there was a Godzilla. That is the drink trigger. Yeah, that is. Never mind. I will drink appropriately for the Godzilla. Yeah.
So do they call that evolution?
They'll call that evolution.
Yeah, so, oh, my goodness. I hit stop. Well, that's a problem.
Oops.
So, I will try to bring that back. While I do that, so the minimum for evolution, right, is that it be a change in allele frequency between generations. That's it. Oh, goodness. No. Why is it doing that? Please don't do this to me.
Do they say that it's producing
And sometimes, because who decides what's a cycle where they have their babies at a certain time of the year?
Almost exactly back where we were.
And if you have the babies too late,
Reshare.
they die.
Okay.
Have them too early, they die. So down in Florida, they don't have that problem. Florida rabbits
about
and
that,
Alaska
everybody.
rabbits cannot interbreed. Extremes which are no longer interfertile. And so people will say, see, that's an example of speciation. Okay, well, if you want to call that speciation, then it's the same kind of animal. I mean, use your head.
So do they call that evolution?
That's where we were. Yes, that is evolution. Because change in allele frequencies in a population between generations is evolution. That is the minimal amount of evolution that counts as evolution. That's the definition of it. You can say, well, I don't think evolution can do certain things, but saying it's not evolution is just inaccurate from a scientific standpoint. Living pterodactyl immurement therefore squawkney says, for $2, I find the Vulgate specious. AIG equals HUD of Hovins. You know, I think that counts as drink trigger. I'll just go for it.
Mhm.
Look, at this point, we're 58 drinks in. I'm on my 4th beer. Yep. Who cares?
They'll call that evolution.
Yeah, because it is.
Do they say that it's produced a different species?
And sometimes, because who decides what's a species?
The taxonomists.
And who's
That's
making
who.
this decision anyway?
Again, taxonomists.
Some
People who spend like a decade just getting a degree and then themselves then spend years and decades learning and doing research in the field of taxonomy to decide what things are and aren't species based on their years of experience, expertise, passing peer review from other taxonomists. Experts, Kent. People who know what they're talking about. People who could tell you what the hell a dinosaur is when asked, when they go on and call themselves, quote, experts on dinosaurs. That's who decides what a species is, Kent. Living pterodactyl immurement, therefore squawkney, for $2 says, can Harvey Birdman represent you in Dino Court? I don't know if he has passed his bar in Dino Court, so I'm not sure. Oh, but there's Godzilla. Take a drink for Godzilla. And Goop23 for $2 says, have some candy with a hard candy, a chocolate bar, and a lollipop or a sucker, depending on what part of the world you're in. Assuming that you're in a part of the world that speaks English. If you're not, I don't know what they call it there. Because I don't think I know the word for lollipop in any language other than English. But thank you very much, Goop23. Very much appreciated.
guy that's desperate for evidence to begin with for evolution, for make his theory look good.
Because wouldn't it, you would think, hey, the one in Florida can breed with the one in Minnesota.
Wait, is that Eric?
Sounds like him.
Interesting.
So that has to be the same species. Minnesota can breed with the one in Alaska. That's a different
Yeah.
species.
That's why they normally call
Oh, it's almost like the distinction between species is somewhat arbitrary, and then humans have to kind of define them to fit them in the boxes, which is the kind of thing you would expect if evolution were true and that speciation was a thing that happened on a gradient. Weird. It's almost like this is actually an expectation if evolution were true. Also, I haven't actually had any candy today. I've had, what did I have for my first meal? I don't remember. But I made congee earlier. I made some congee and I put shrimp in it, some green onion, and so I cooked some shrimp and some congee. And the congee had like salt and pepper and some garlic and yeah, there you go. And then I cooked the shrimp with some oil and some green onion, like the white parts of the green onion, not the green parts. And then, I put a little bit of soy sauce and sesame oil on top of the congee, then top that with the cooked onions in the middle, arrange the shrimp out around the edges, and then sprinkled on the green part of the green onion. Absolutely delicious. Took an hour and a half to make, because congee, but still delicious.
that a subspecies. Yeah, but then you look at a coyote and a wolf, which are different species,
By most definitions, yes.
but they can breed.
Yeah, but they tend not to. And so here's where we're going to get into different species definitions, right? So most people are most familiar with the biological species concept. So, Bent, you've heard about the idea that if two organisms can produce fertile offspring, then they're in the same species, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the
Yes.
biological species concept. But it's not the only species concept. And it's not even necessarily the most important one. There are other concepts, like the morphospecies, which says that a species is a group of organisms which has identifiable and unique morphological characters that define them as a group that are significantly different from any other group of organisms. And that's the morphospecies concept. That's often used in paleontology because we can't tell who could breed with whom. Right? There's also the ecospecies concept that says that a species is a species if it has a distinct niche within that environment, right? And there's also concepts that have to do with things like gene flow. Like, for instance, does this population form a distinct population with very little gene flow coming in or out of that population? Well, then it might be a genetic species, right? And that's how we determine that despite some limited gene flow, that Neanderthals were both probably at least eco and genetic species compared to Homo sapiens, which were a different species. So within this group of different species definitions, the biological species concept is only one. And the thing that most taxonomists will do is say, okay, well, it meets like 3 or 4 different species definitions, so it's worth calling a different species. The biological species concept is not the be-all and end-all of species concepts. Now, Strawberry Vein for $2 says, AIG is a plastic pumpkin full of lollipops. You know what? I'll take a drink for that.
There's a picture on the internet somebody sent me yesterday or a couple days ago about a whalpin. At a zoo, I think it's the San Diego Zoo where I just was, or maybe the Hawaiian one where we were a couple weeks ago. They crossed a killer whale and a dolphin.
Killer whales are dolphins. That's like saying we crossed a coyote and a canine. That doesn't make any sense. Coyotes are canines. Now, I believe it was actually a false killer whale, which is actually closer to most other dolphins than killer whales are, but whatever. I don't actually know. But you can't cross a dolphin and a killer whale because, well, killer whales are dolphins. Aster Ryu means star dinosaur in Chinese. It says, to explain my name, apparently the word for dinosaur species in Chinese contains both the Hanzi and the word for dragon. So according to Kent, Joe called a dinosaur that. Okay. Wait, I thought that, at least in Mandarin, the word for dragon was long. Not, Ryu. But what do I know? Also, yeah, you know what? I know almost no Chinese of any kind whatsoever, so I'm not going to sit here and try to puzzle it out. But thank you very much.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, in Hawaii.
Killer whale and a dolphin. Now, normally, crosses like that end up being sterile. They cannot produce. But this one had a baby of its own. It was not sterile.
I have not heard that. I am extremely skeptical, and I would want a citation, but I don't think Kent is going to give us one.
Mm-hmm.
I think with a dolphin.
Wow.
Kent, dolphin isn't a species. It's not even close to a species. Okay, hold on. Let's just see what options we have for dolphin, which, by the way, includes killer whale. Also, Fitz of Carl Baugh's English Teacher's Rage for $2 says, AIG is a pack of fun-size almond joys. Oh man, you should get better than that. Come on, fun size? Okay, so here are some dolphin species. Also, Heather Kuhn, who's been a member for 5 months, says Ryu is Japanese. Now, okay, I thought that the Japanese for dinosaur was Kyoryu. But there's a Godzilla, so we'll take a drink. Orca, spinner dolphin, striped dolphin, rough-toothed dolphin, Commerson's dolphin, Pacific white-sided dolphin, dusky dolphin, pan-tropical spotted dolphin, Peel's dolphin, pygmy killer whale, harbor porpoise, Australian snubfin dolphin, false killer whale, Chilean dolphin, vaquita, North Atlantic right whale, Indian Ocean humpback, common bottlenose dolphin, Atlantic spotted dolphin, longfin pilot whale, baiji, Clemeni dolphin, I'm not really sure how to pronounce that, Atlantic white-sided dolphin, short-fin pilot whale, hourglass dolphin, northern right whale dolphin, Indo-Pacific humpback dolphin, Indo-Pacific bottlenose dolphin, southern right whale dolphin, Guyana dolphin, heavy-sides dolphin, that's a blue whale. That's not obviously not a dolphin. They got that wrong at least. Some of these might have been wrong, but narrow-ridged finless porpoise, short-beaked common dolphin, Irrawaddy dolphin, Hector's dolphin, Amazon river dolphin, melon-headed whale, Risso's dolphin, Tukushi, I think. Southern Amazon river dolphin, Fraser's dolphin, Dall's porpoise, Atlantic humpback dolphin, Indus river dolphin, white-beaked dolphin, Australian humpback dolphin, southern right wing. No, that's definitely wrong. And La Plata dolphin. So a couple of those were definitely wrong, like fin whale and yeah, okay. So, but still, it's like over 30 dolphin species. Dolphin is not just a single thing. And by the way, again, orca is a dolphin. I'm taking a drink for Ken, like, oh, that's a dolphin and an orca. Guess what? 2 orcas having a baby is an orca and a dolphin having a baby.
Yep. The old Kent.
Okay. Kent No Relation Halstead for $5 says the entire science community being in on on the evolution grip with near zero evidence is a conspiracy so unprecedentedly vast and coordinated. Yeah, the only conspiracy even bigger than that is the flat Earth, right? Because it would be even more people. Yeah, it's it's just lunacy. Astro Ryu, star means dolphin in Chinese, says the Japanese for dinosaur is Kyoryu, which is what I thought it was. But the Ryu part comes from dragon, and it uses the same kanji. Okay, but is the Ryu part Chinese or Japanese for dragon? Because I doubt they have the same word. And every scientific name that I know from Chinese that incorporates the element for dragon involves long, like Tian Yu Long, which is like heavenly something dragon. So, yeah. Or like Dai Long. Yeah. Heather Kuhn says Ryu equals dragon for $2. That's what I thought, but like, what do I know, right?
And they got babies got babies that would be 1/4 killer whale and 3/4 dolphin.
So all dolphin. I can't with this. I'm taking another drink. My goodness. Yeah, by the way, when I Googled like all the kinds of dolphins, yeah, some right whales came up, and those aren't dolphins. So sorry about that. If you're listening in the future, scratch those from my list.
Usually it's going to breed back to one or the other. But even still, if you put a killer whale and a dolphin,
so maybe 2 killer whales, okay,
side by side, and stand 50 feet away and look at them, they look awful similar.
That's because killer whales are dolphins, Kent.
I would say it's a very similar kind of animal. And they might have even had a common ancestor.
Yeah, I'll bet it was a dolphin.
Somebody, Tino Gropey up in Wisconsin.
Ryu and Long use the same Chinese characters as Guptu3 for $2. Yes, that is because Japanese use of kanji comes from Hanzi, and they often carry the same semantic meaning, but different phonetic readings, which means that you can't use the phonetic reading from Japanese and simply assume that it works for the Chinese Hanzi. Why are we talking about Hanzi? I'm so confused.
A good friend of mine, he sent me a whole series of pictures of crosses. He sent me a liger.
I've seen ligers a liger in real life. It was really cool.
Nice.
Yeah. It was at a Ren fair. It was gigantic.
Yeah, I hear they're pretty big.
They really are.
Lion and a tiger. A lion and a tiger can crossbreed and make a liger or a tigon, depending which one is the father.
Hey, that's true. We'll take a drink. Ligers for a male lion and a female tiger, yeah. Tigon is a male tiger and a lioness. And yeah, tigons are small, and ligers are big.
It'll work either way.
True.
With the dolphin and the killer whale, what did it look like? I mean, did it have the...
It looked halfway between the two, yeah.
It looked halfway between a dolphin and a dolphin.
Well, a horse and a jackass will produce a mule.
Or a hinny. Don't forget the hinnies. Again, it depends on who's the male and who's the female. Although no one really purposefully breeds hinnies because they're kind of useless, right? Because mules are great in that they have like the strength of a donkey, but the relative calmness of a horse. Hinnies have the strength of a horse, which is not as, and the endurance of a horse, which is not as good as a donkey. But they have the orneriness and sort of antisocial personality of a donkey, which is like, what's the point of this animal?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, people don't tend to breed hinnies. But they do happen. Oh, I hit the wrong button.
And the mules are almost always male.
No, that's not true at all. I'm just going to take a drink for that. That's just nonsense. In fact, famously, a small handful of female mules have actually managed to reproduce.
And sterile.
That part is true. They are almost always sterile. In fact, all male mules are known, or that have ever been observed seem to be sterile. There's never been a report of a male mule ever successfully reproducing.
One out of 20,000 is a female and is not sterile.
I don't know about that number, but I'm pretty sure it's a lot higher, since I believe in the entire history of the world, there have been like fewer than 5 reported cases that have been confirmed of a mule reproducing, and it was always a female. And I'm pretty sure there's been way more than, 600,000 mules that have ever lived?
But then who do you cross it with? Cross it with a sterile male? What do you, what do you
You cross it with the horse, Kent.
get? Nothing. So generally, I would say the Bible definition of kind, and I've been in several debates where they really press me, what is a kind? What is a kind?
Yeah, it's almost like if you're going to try and use something as if it were some kind of scientific term that actually is going to help you overthrow the entire basis for modern biology, that people might want you to have, I don't know, like a rigorous definition. What a weird concept. How nitpicky. It's almost like if you went into a debate about what a dinosaur is, people might want you to, I don't know what a dinosaur is, Kent. Imagine.
You might expect that.
Yeah. Imagine people expecting you to know what the words you use mean. How insulting.
I've decided to go ahead and answer the question, knowing it'll set me up for, as a target.
Because you don't have a good answer, Kent.
A kind is those
Oh, here it is, everybody. Get ready.
Oh,
Buckle up.
that were originally, in the creation,
Okay.
originally able to reproduce.
Okay. That's okay. But how do we now tell where the kinds are, Kent? If he moves on, which I'm pretty sure he will, he is not given an adequate definition because he can't tell us whether or not an animal has ever crossed between 2 different kinds, because he doesn't know how to determine what the kinds are.
Now, today we might have different species that are from the same kind.
Yep, just move it on.
They were part of the original breeding stock.
Mm-hmm.
Notice in the last 2 debates, you went ahead and said that
Yeah.
rather than,
That's what the Bible says.
I mean, it kind of says that.
The definition of kind has to do with bring forth, have children.
Okay, so those Florida rabbits and the Alaska rabbits aren't the same kind anymore because they can't bring forth together. Got it.
They shall bring forth after their kind.
Okay.
do you keep going after them about species and say, okay, well, give me, because I remember one guy said, I gave a great definition of species, those animals that are able to reproduce.
Sure, and I said, okay, dog and a wolf are different species.
No, dogs and wolves can breed, Kent, and they can produce fertile offspring. Taking a drink. I can't with this one right now.
mm-mm.
Does Kent not know that wolf dogs are both a thing and fertile?
I don't think he knows.
And they can reproduce. So where is your definition? Your definition breaks
I've never heard anyone argue that dogs and wolves are the same species. Ever.
down.
Or sorry, aren't the same species. My mistake. My apologies, everyone.
But see, somehow they're all blinded. They think, give me a definition of kind, or else you don't know what, or else I win the debate on evolution.
Yeah, when your entire argument against evolution involves things like, well, you can't cross between kinds, unless you can tell us what that means, Kent, then you might as well say, well, you can't bake piano to purple banana. Which, true, I can't. Why is that relevant, since I have no idea what that means? And neither does anyone else. Yeah, if you want to say X is a problem for Y, and you can't tell me what the heck X is, I'm trying not to drop the F-bomb here, then I get to ignore you, because your point is literally meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. Now, for $5, Strawberry Vane just said, so Kent's answer to what is a kind is a biblical kind. Yeah, basically, yeah, there's very little thought that went into this. Living Pterodactyl Emirman, therefore Squawk Knee for $2 says, if they can't bring forth, can they bring fifths? I don't know. That's a good question. You'll have to call up Kent and ask him. Or don't, because, I mean, why would you want to talk to Kent Hovind?
Ew.
Yeah, exactly. But, by the way, I think we're doing a Tutu there, Bent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The next question is, when will we get to enough that I get more pizza for you.
I don't. What is that? A trillion you need?
Uh, it's definitely less than a trillion, but it's definitely more than we have now.
I don't know exactly what the original kinds were. Probably nobody does.
Well, if you can't make a really good guess, then and you know, when I say guess, I mean a really good hypothesis, and then back that up with some kind of criteria that are objectively verifiable that can pass through some kind of peer review, then it's a meaningless term.
What difference does it make?
Yeah, I think for the vast majority, it's obvious. Okay, let's put a dog and a banana. Now, those are different kinds.
Kent, picking very different organisms isn't the problem, right? It's easy for you to pretend that dogs and bananas have no connection, right? The question comes in like, okay, here's a dog, and here's an amphicyanid, right? It's like a big plantigrade dog. Are those different kinds? Why or why not? If they're the same kind, are they the same kind with, say, arctoidians, like pinnipeds and raccoons? Why or why not? Going to the areas where you're just, it's easiest for you to be like, nah, it doesn't seem like the same kind, is meaningless. It's the edge cases that are important. Science is about trying to, a big part of science is trying to distinguish edge cases. Say, which way does the evidence actually point in this area where we're not sure? I'm glad for Kent that he thinks that animals and plants aren't in the same kind. Cool. Where are the kind boundaries? Specifically, are Darwin's finches in family Fringillidae, distinct from the finches in family Fringillidae? Or Thropidae? Now I can't remember which one's which. Those two families, the finches and tanagers, Thropidae and Fringillidae. Are they the same kind? Why or why not? Are they the same kind as other passerine birds? Like robins or thrushes? Why or why not? Who knows? We're getting a little bit more Kent in.
Okay, dog and a wolf. Same kind. Dog and a hyena. I don't know. Dog and a fox.
Okay, so Kent doesn't know if a dog and a hyena are the same kind, which means, according to Kent, cats, hyenas, mongooses, civets, dogs, raccoons, bears, seals, walruses. Hey, maybe in the same kind. Remember,
Maybe not.
hyenas are more closely related to civets than they are to dogs. But with that, we are going to take a quick break and be back for one more hour of Kent with Bent because it's a holiday and we're doing 3
Yay.
hours, baby.
Yay!
All right, so here's a quick intermission and we will be right back after that quick intermission. Stay tuned for another full hour of Kent with Bent. All right, we are back. Welcome back to everyone
Yeah.
who stuck with us, which is all but like 20 of you, which I appreciate. Once again, quick version. If you like this channel is almost entirely supported by viewers. Check out the Patreon. Check out the channel memberships linked down below. Check out Amazon wishlists. Me and Bent both have Amazon wishlists, Patreon. Join the channel. Get early access. Get names and credits. All that great stuff. Go do it. I'm actually going to be creating new credits for November in like, probably not tomorrow, because like I'll give it like a day for like, what do you call it? Like payments to come in. But then like the next day or so, I'm going to be writing down all the name lists, recording the new names, all that stuff. So now is a great time to get on board because the cutoff for when I'm going to be able to add names is coming up in like 2 or 3 days. So hop on board now if you haven't already. Steve Reno for $2 says, I, Dapper Dino, which is not Steve Reno's name, which is odd, will buy Bent a pizza. So Bent,
Thank you.
2 things. First, start calling Steve Reno Dapper Dino, which is weird, but then contact Steve Reno for a free pizza.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Dr. Tapioca Weasel has just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships, so we're going to drink 5 times, which is probably going to mean I run out of this beer. Here's 1. 2. Oh, hey, we're at 69. Nice. 2.
Nice.
3. 4. And 5. We shouldn't quite get rid of my beverage, but it's close enough that I'm going to pour the next one into this one anyway. And Strawberry Vein for $5 says, kind. Noun. Definition: 1, a biblical kind. 2, it's obvious. 3, no one ever really knows. 4, who cares? Lamau. Nice.
Oh, nice.
That's really good. No, I have a number for how much it is before Bent gets random free pizza. And it is... we're definitely well over halfway there. But we're not...
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah. So, and, yeah. So, we are here for more Kent. So let's get more Kent, shall we?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how many original kinds of dog-type animals there were, and today
Kent, that's a
Dog-type
problem for you,
animals.
right? If you can't tell how many canids say there were originally, then that means you cannot say with any confidence that something has never left its kind. That's the whole problem. When you say, no one has ever seen anything evolve past its own kind, what does that mean? How would you know? Kent, no relation Halstead says, your chat keeps saying bad things about me for $2. I think they're talking about the other Kent. I apologize.
so.
It is confusing. Have you considered changing your name to a different one of the Heptarchy, like Northumbria Halstead, or Wessex Halstead,
Ooh.
or Sussex Halstead? I'm just saying, Kent isn't the only kingdom in the Heptarchy, or the... Wait, is it the Heptarchy? I might be confusing ecclesiastical history with English history as a result of the 73 drinks. So please forgive me if I am. There's too much history out there. There's too much beer in me. I don't know what's happening anymore, but it's Halloween. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
I'm going to hit play. After this, I'm going to finish off the last of the beer while probably playing video games and watching spooky movies until I decide it's time to go to bed. So, here we go.
today we have, hundreds, but there may have been originally 5, just to pick a number.
That's a lot more than, say, Ancestors and Genesis would go for, but okay.
Or cat. Is a house cat and a tiger and a mountain lion and a, are they from the original ancestors in the garden? I don't know.
Well, if they are, and hyenas might be in the same kind as dogs. I'm sorry, I'm just going to take a drink for Kent Hovind, knowing absolutely nothing about what a hyena is. Although I will say it was amusing when the person we were with at the zoo recently mistook African wild dogs, Lycaon pictus, for hyenas. I was like, no, that's not a hyena. That was it was cute. I'll give it that. It was cute.
Mhm.
But actually, that was the first time I'd ever seen African wild dogs in person, and it was really cool. So, yeah, I'd never seen them in person.
God might have made 3 kinds of cats, and now we have 800 species. Or he might have made...
That seems like a lot. I don't think there's 800 species of felines. Maybe, I don't know.
1 kind of cat. I don't know.
Okay, but Kent, if you don't know, then you can't say whether or not something has evolved beyond its own kind, right? If you say, well, I bet those common ancestors were all a cat, okay, great, that's what evolution says. But if you want to then say that, well, nothing has evolved past its own kind, you don't know, right? Because if you want to say, well, this hasn't gone from one kind to another in evolution, you need to have your minimal definition of kind, not your maximal definition where, like, well, I don't think cats are in the same kinds as dolphin, and they're not in the same kind as banana. Great, that's a maximalist view. You need the minimalist view. You need to be able to distinguish at the margin. You need to be able to tell me, are tigers and lions the same kind? Are they the same kind with house cats? Are they the same kind with binturongs? Are they the same kind with mongooses, with hyenas? And you don't know. You don't know where to draw the line. You don't know if a lion and a house cat are the same kind. But if you don't, then you can't say whether or not an observed instance of speciation has resulted in a new kind or not. Because you don't know what the minimal definition is. That's why we have a minimal definition for evolution of any change in allele frequencies in a population across generations. That's the minimal amount of thing that counts as evolution. It's the minimal thing that's important here, not the maximal thing, right? If I say, well, I definitely know that humans evolving from fish is evolution, but I don't know if, Homo ergaster evolving into Homo sapiens counts as real evolution. That's me using the maximalist and ignoring the minimalist definition. The minimalist is the important part. I'm taking a drink because I can't with this anymore. Not without a drink, at least. Living pterodactyl immurement, therefore squawkany for $5, says Ghidorah, which means we take a drink. This channel is almost entirely supported by viewers. Those fools! AIG are an atrocious arc of angled anatomy. Oh, I love the "those fools" part. That's really great. I should use the word "fool" more. It's a great word. It's like both fancy and insulting. Like, you fool! Makes me sound all fancy.
I know if you put all the animals back in the basic kinds, there's only about 8,000 kinds of animals that have been classified.
How do you know, Kent? You just told me you didn't know if there were 1 or 5 kinds of canine. So how can you possibly come up with what is your estimate here? Like 8,000, give or take 4,000? Like, how would you know? You can't tell me what a minimal kind is. So how could you possibly estimate? Just taking a drink for Kent pulling numbers out of his rectum.
Now there's who knows how many million species because some guy gets the idea that he wants to call something a different species, but it's the same kind. All right, so Darwin noticed all these finches and said, I believe all these finches had a common ancestor. You're right, Charlie. It was a bird.
Yes, Kent, the common ancestor of all birds was a bird. Good job. You figured it out. I'll take a drink, even though you think there's more than one kind of bird. I know, 'cause I asked. Goodness.
But then he wrote in his book on page 170, Charlie said, it is a truly wonderful fact that all animals and all plants throughout all time and space should be related to each other.
Why do I feel like he's hiding the ball in that ellipsis?
Because he is.
Let's see if we can find this. So we go to the origin of species. Let's see. We'll go to full text. Project Gutenberg, my favorite source for Go, just going for it. We're going to use the 6th edition, considered the definitive edition, the least favorite of the creationists, because of course it is, because a lot of their wonderful quote lines they love come from the first and second edition before things like, geologists had got on board. Okay, it is a truly wonderful fact. Okay, here we go. I found it. Here is what we have. And then that goes on. Okay. It is a truly wonderful fact. The wonder each other in groups, subordinate to groups, in the manner which we everywhere behold, namely varieties of the same species, most closely related, species in the same genus, less closely and unequally related, forming sections and subgenera, species of distinct classes. The several subordinate groups in any class cannot be ranked in a single file, but seem... Yeah, there's been a period. It's not even the same sentence, Kent. Oh my god, screw you, Kent. Putting a ellipsis and then going on to a separate sentence? Oh, what an asshole. Sorry. The several subordinate groups in any class cannot be ranked in a single file. Oh, there's Godzilla! Take a drink! But seem clustered around points. Oh, hey, as if common ancestry were true. And these around other points, and so on in almost endless cycles. Yeah, he's talking about taxonomy. The very fact that Carolus Linnaeus pointed out. If species had been independently created, no explanation would have been possible of this kind of classification. Yeah, that's a good point. Sure, you could accommodate it, but you can't explain it. You wouldn't have predicted it. But it is explained through the inheritance and complex action of natural selection entailing extinction and divergence of character, as we have illustrated in the diagram. Wait, where does that all animals come in? That all... Holy crap, it's an entire other paragraph? I'm dropping the fuck bomb.
Whoa.
I just did it. Damn it. What the F, Ken? It's not even the same paragraph. I hate this ellipsis. It is my least favorite ellipsis of all time. I'm taking 2 drinks for how just awful that is. Okay. For 1999, Asteriu says, off from work, so I'll explain. Since both Japanese and Chinese use Hanzi, kind of, mean Star Dragon in Chinese was a dig at Ken, who probably thinks that they're the same language, let alone superfamily of language. Oh yeah, he probably does, too. Even though, like, the Japonic language family is completely separate from any other language family, including Sino-Tibetan. Yeah, he probably does think that. Strawberry Bane for $5 says, Kent, you are more of a some guy than any taxonomist. You are more of a some guy than me. Yeah. My goodness. That thing being a pastiche of quotes from different paragraphs is really getting to me, guys. If I had done something like that in college, I'm pretty sure I would have been, at the very least, given a strong warning and probably failed the class, if not just have been outright expelled. So, oh hey, we're like 149 away from getting Bent that free pizza.
All right.
There you go.
You can do it, chat. I believe in you.
Yeah.
Happy Halloween.
You got this. Give Bent $150 for a free pizza. Just because I've decided that the amount goes up by $100 each time.
Yikes.
Of course, it's not like I'm not gonna at some point also just buy a pizza and let you have some anyway.
I look forward to
Now,
the day.
would you say that is a logical conclusion to draw from seeing 14 varieties of birds?
On that alone, no. But as we saw when we actually checked the text, Kent, Charles Darwin was not basing this on just seeing 14 birds. You're lying about that. Oh my goodness, Dr. Tapioca Weasel just gifted 10 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. So, let's see. They went to Debbie D, Mapleson, Intellectual Ectropy, Jumpy Fox, H.L. Aristoteles, E.G., Jason Hyatt, Rex Felix 69, there it is. Rex Felix 69, nice. And Mark Rose, Steve Weber, and Kenneth. Thank you very much, Dr. Tapioca Weasel, as well as congratulations to everyone who was just gifted a membership. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Well, in that case, we're only 99 away.
Nice.
All right, so as we saw when we checked the actual quotation to find out that he was actually referencing the entirety of the taxonomic ordering of life. Linnaean taxonomy is one of the things that suggested this to him when he saw that not only were there families and genera and species and orders and classes and phyla, but there were these innumerable steps, and that there were these different nodes within the tree of life that connected different amounts of organisms together. That this was a big thing, and that it could not be predicted or explained by common ancestry. Zach B. Hancock was gifted membership. This is all from Steve Marino, 10 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. Zach B. Hancock, the Fallen from Heaven, Henan Stitch, there we go. Revenant Rye, Mapleson just said Happy Halloween, get bent. Yes, Happy Halloween to you too. JMCA does lifts, Ben Joyner, let's see, Colin Dietrich, Charles Starbuck, Steve Austin, Alex Hood, all just were gifted memberships. Thank you very much. Here's 10 more. My goodness, I'm going to be falling down by the end of the night. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And oh my goodness, I'm gonna die. You're gonna kill me for Halloween. I'm gonna come back as a ghost. I'm gonna be a ghost permanently. Okay.
Nice.
A couple things. First, for $9.99, Aster Ryu says, how much do you want to bet that Kent thinks velvet worms and earthworms are the same kind? Oh no! Oh no, please. You know, two animals that, if they are the same kind, are in the same kind as humans. Oh my god. I don't want to think about that because it's probably true. Oh. My head hurts now. Oh my god. You're right. You know you're right, though. Probably does think they're in the same kind. Oh, and by the way, I love velvet worms so much. They're just the greatest. I don't want to hear anything bad about them. Which, by the way, also means that we definitely hit Bent gets a free pizza.
Nice.
Yeah. But also, Strawberry Vein gifted 10 Dapper Dinosaur memberships and went to Bill Muller, Steven Stevens, Ernest Crunkleton, the Goffinator, Chaos the Dragon, Antisocial Butterfly, Iona Christian? Not really sure, sorry. Andrew Matthias, Ender Real Girl, and Brian Spink. Well, welcome to the channel memberships, everyone. No, Dr. Tapio Weasel, yeah, you definitely broke me, but especially the whole earthworms and velvet worms from Asteriu. There we go. No, that's the real big thing that broke me. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Give me a break. Hold on. Okay. 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, hold on. And 10. Which means I'm on beer 5.
Wow.
Yeah. It's entirely possible I'll need to get a 6th beer.
Oh.
So, here we go. Let's pour this 5th beer. So, here's the thing about velvet worms, right? Not only are they one of the only panarthropods left that aren't arthropods, it's like them plus water bears, right? Tardigrades. But they're also freaking adorable. I love them. I want one, that's like, I don't know, the size of like a medium dog, so I can hug it. Like, oh, they're so damn cute. They're cuter than anything that isn't a vertebrate has any right to be. I just love them so much. They're so adorable. And also, horrifyingly efficient predators of other small animals who shoot glue out of their head. Just trap things and then they go devour them in a horrifying Halloween-y manner. So, velvet worms are amazing. Dr. Tapioca Weasel says, how much for you to appear in your human suit in a tutu? Ooh, that's a great question. I'll tell you what. If we get 200 more, I will take the tutu instead of Bent. And I will appear in my human suit with the tutu.
Nice.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's a lot. And y'all only have about, like 30, probably 6-ish, realistically, minutes. But, yeah. Because currently, Bent will be in a tutu next week.
So,
All right, here we go.
No.
Oh, living... It just happened again. Why did it happen?
Saskatoon, Canada.
Holy crap.
They're eating. But now the Angus is really good beef.
It's crashing.
That's
Great.
supposed to be one of the best
Whoa.
eating cows, apparently, or one of the top ones, the Angus. The Brahma
It's still crashing.
is it the one that got the big hump?
I hate that. All right. Few things. Living Tetrapod for $2 says, if you blow chunks, make sure it's on Ben's side. Fair. Esther Ryu for $4.99 says, agreed. Velvet worms are adorable. I'll share in the server a Pokemon I made based on one. Oh, that's really cool. All right. So we're gonna. Oh wait, nope. Brought it back in the wrong player. Why did that happen again? It's probably my fault because I'm drunk. So give me a second, guys. Yeah.
Natural selection has worked on the rabbit populations to the point where the Alaska rabbits, because they got a short summer and long winter. I read a botany book where they were talking about the history of the rose, and some guys need to avoid it because it's not really a good term. Wants to call something a different species, but it's the same kind. All right. So Darwin noticed all these finches and said,
Oh my goodness! Hold up. Steve Areno just gifted 10 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. They went to ABCDEIG, Slackback, Jimmy H, Rosina Keller, Eddie McCoy, Ziggy for the Facts, Phil Coyote, Midnight Rambler, Gosh of the Heckfire, Bloody Hatter, Brian Albero, and I think that's it. Okay. Give me a second here while I build up some strength. And I'll take another drink. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Dr. Tapioca Weasel gifted another membership, which went to Dr. Teriyaki Weasel. So I'll take a drink for it. Okay. Oh my goodness. Oh, you guys are going to kill me. If I die, Bent can't get that free pizza, just saying.
Son of a...
I believe all these finches had a common ancestor
Yep.
with it. Because that's what they're going to use, okay? You need to understand it, and then I think you need to avoid it because it's not really a good term. Because it implies...
Okay, he's talking about species. It's roughly where we left off. Cool.
Evolution. We ought to just call it a variation, because that's what it is. Probably the 250 varieties of dogs had a common ancestor.
I agree.
A dog.
Yep. And the 200 or whatever varieties of canine had a common ancestor that was a canine. And carnivorous was a carnivore, mammals was a mammal, vertebrates was a mammal, was a vertebrate, sorry. Yeah, the common ancestor of all vertebrates was a vertebrate. Common ancestor of all animals was an animal. Yep. You just keep on going back, Kent. There's no reason to stop. You don't have to. You can just keep on pushing it back. And if you want to say there is a reason to stop, it's on you.
And probably the roses. You know, the original rose only had 5 petals.
I neither knew that, nor do I think that that's necessarily true. I would need some kind of a citation.
I don't know that now.
Yeah.
The real, wild, original rose has only got 5 petals. Looks sort of like a daisy.
I mean, maybe. It's not completely absurd. Does anyone have any evidence of this? I don't know. Someone just said, how do you know, in his live audience? Holy crap, dude. Cheers. I'm going to take a drink for that. That's an amazing question to ask Kent Hovind. Yeah, how do you know? And, yeah, we're close again. The pizza.
I guess I read a botany book where they were talking about the history of the rose, and some guy got a mutant rose, a mutation, where instead of the petals sticking out, they were curled up, and there was more of them. And he thought it looked neat.
So his reference for this is, I once read a history book. Okay. I once read a history book that said that Jesus didn't exist, Kent. Now what?
Ooh, roasted.
Oh, it's almost like maybe I once read a history book doesn't mean anything. Jillian, the entire column is igneous Wren, who's been a member for 8 months, is at the amniote level, says, Happy Halloween from me and the kids. All of us in from trick-or-treating. We'll definitely watch what I missed, later. Well, have a great night. I hope the kids had fun. I hope they have a whole bunch of candy and that they get sick from too much candy. Because, yeah, happy Halloween. And by the way, that history book that says that Jesus didn't exist, probably a bad history book.
So he did whatever he did before and kept getting this mutant and finally crossbred them, and they happened to be fertile, and he ended up, now we have roses all over the world that are from this original mutation.
But normally, that mutation would have bred right back into the...
Unless somebody had been there working with it,
Right.
it wouldn't have survived.
Right. So natural selection would not have produced further.
Probably not, no. Artificial selection did, and now, if you turn them all loose back into the woods, I suspect within 100 years they would go back.
The roses? I guess.
Why would they go back?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, roses aren't like the least survivable thing. I have no idea.
Unless the original genes are gone.
What does that mean, Kent? What original genes? You can't tell me. You don't know. You don't know how embryology works. You don't know how flower development works. You can't tell me what that means. DM scientist, chemist, auto mechanic waiting for $2 says, maybe his reference is in his slides with a Godzilla. Yeah, maybe. I'm not holding my breath. Kent. By the way, Kent doesn't know what an allele or a gene is, and he doesn't really know what a chromosome is. I'm going to describe to you how Kent, in this series, his Creation Science Evangelism College series, how he talked about sexual reproduction. Okay, so he thinks that when the genetic material from the maternal and paternal parent meet together, the double helix unwinds into 2 separate single-sided strands, and at one side from the paternal parent meets up with another side from the maternal parent and zips back together, and that the other side from the paternal parent and the other side from the maternal parent do that also, and that each single nucleotide is a gene.
That one got me.
Bent. I know you know. the basics of how this works. Would you like to describe it for the audience?
I don't want to describe it. I have a headache.
Okay, that's fair. What actually happens is that after meiosis, right, which involves some crossover of the parental chromosomes and the maternal chromosomes, one haploid set, which means since you have, 46 chromosomes total per cell, 23 maternal chromosomes meet when the sperm puts itself into the egg and injects its, genetic material to create 46 chromosomes in a new baby. There's no unzipping of the double helix. And each gene is a set of codons starting with a start, ending with a stop codon that can code for a protein. And each codon is 3 base pairs long, which means that each gene is made up of multiple groups of 3 of the things that Kent thinks are a gene in the first place. Kent has less than a high school level of understanding of genetics. If Kent proposed that in a high school genetics class, he would fail that class. I don't know how to emphasize enough just how badly dumb Kent Hovind is at genetics. Living pterodactyl immurement, therefore squawk knee, for $2 says, maybe play this rose section for your botany bros? Yeah, that's basically just Jackson Wheat. So, I might. Kent, no relation Halstead, for $2 says, Dapper, please stop drinking, I'm scared. Nah, I'm okay. Look, I'm on my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Really? Yeah, this is my 6th beer. This is it. This is all I have, is a 6th beer. I will have finished a six-pack if I finish this beer during the stream. That's it. 6 drinks over the course of, 3 hours? It's not that bad.
Data, but it's
Right.
no way that-
Rearrange data. For instance, if I gave you 500 Chihuahuas and says, here, I want you to go out on this deserted island, and I want you to crossbreed these dogs until you come back with a Great Dane.
Well, I couldn't come back with an actual Great Dane, right? Because Great Danes are defined by their pedigree, and I couldn't produce that pedigree. But if you want to say come back with a dog as big as a Great Dane, yeah, I probably could.
Well, you're probably not going to be able to do that, okay?
Not literally in the sense of actually producing a real Great Dane, but producing a dog that big, yeah, I probably could.
You might end up with a bigger Chihuahua, still just as useless as the small.
I hate that.
Kent hates Chihuahuas. Take a drink.
I love Chihuahua.
I don't have particular feelings towards the breed, but I have been quite fond of individual Chihuahuas.
But you're not going to get a Great Dane because the genes for that big a dog are just simply gone. It's not available.
He means alleles because they have all the same genes that Great Danes do. Every gene in a Great Dane is present in a Chihuahua. Every single one. Because Kent doesn't know what the hell a gene is. A gene is a section that produces a particular protein. Alleles are different variations of the same gene. Chihuahuas and Great Danes are more similar to each other than you are to any other random human. The dog genetic diversity is very small because they originated more recently from humans from a smaller population than humans. Steve Reiner for $2 says, but could you get a dog the size of Texas? No, I could not. It is mutations that produce new alleles and much more rarely new genes that evolution can then work on. And we know that we can use mutations to create new breeds of animals because it's happened in historical times. Living pterodactyl immurement, therefore squawkney, for $2 says a 6-pack in 3 hours isn't bad, but it's not good. Oh, no, look, I am well on my way to being pretty well toasty. But it's not alcohol poisoning it by any means, right? Like, I would need to drink a lot more alcohol before it became like a life-threatening problem. Heather Kuhn for $5 says, pretty sure modern domestics are at least tetraploid. For roses? Because not for dogs. Dogs are definitely are diploid. But if you mean roses, then that might well be true. I don't actually know, though. All right, here we go.
Okay. If you got all the pygmies and said, okay, we're going to crossbreed these pygmies until we get, somebody 7 feet tall, well, it's probably not going to happen. There probably isn't. Yeah.
I disagree. I think it could very well happen.
Yeah, maybe you might get one 5 or 6 feet, but there's going to be, the limit is different from the gene pool, from the information that's available. Okay. Microevolution is certainly observable. You can make it happen. This is what farmers do for a living. Over all the years and years and years of breeding cows, they have learned certain...
Vagary says you'll have to tell us how you feel tomorrow. If I wake up... No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I'll probably be fine. A 6-pack isn't that much. Living Pterodactyl Immurement, therefore Squawkney for $2 says, can you get an ox that could plow the Grand Canyon? No, probably not.
Cows have certain traits that are desirable for a certain product, okay? If you want a cow that gives the best milk in the world, my understanding of cows is that you get a Guernsey.
Oh,
the problem is Guernseys don't give very much milk. Now, other kinds of cows will give an awful lot. In Illinois, we saw the cow that at that time was the world record holder, giving 100
for $5, Strawberry Vein says, I'm just going to drink for smaller equals less information, FML. Yeah, that is a common thing with creationists, and I don't get it. They'll say like, oh, hey, look, this is less and less information, and they'll just show smaller and smaller breeds of dog. But the thing is, like, does that just carry on generally? Do elephants have more information than humans, and whales have more information than elephants? Do tall humans have more information than short humans? Do people from the Congo have less information than people from Scandinavia? I don't know. I don't think so. That seems weird and gross and not really true. But creationists seem to think so. They don't usually take it to the logical conclusion. But, yeah, so Living Pterodactyl Immurement, therefore Squawkney says pygmies equals casual racism. I'm not going to drink for the same reason I didn't with Eskimos, because I'm not sure if that was still, like, I'm not sure if the recognition of the problems with that term was recognized when this video was made, right? Just like if I currently said something that in like 20 years would be like, whoa, man, that sounds super bigoted. Well, it didn't now, and I don't know what to tell you, because I have to exist now. So, for the same reason, I'm not super going to drink here. Whereas if I knew that it was, casual bigotry at the time, I definitely would. But yeah, it's definitely approaching that level.
some pounds of milk every day. 100 pounds of milk every day. Yeah, all they do is eat all day, and then they milk them twice a day, and the rest of the day they're eating. But
that just reminds me, I watch way too many hoof trimming videos for cows. Sometimes bulls too. I don't know why, but I'm like, yeah, find that digital dermatitis and put some iodine on it and some salicylic acid and make that cow walk better. Good job. I just don't know why it's so captivating. Maybe it's just that I like watching an animal come in pain and leaving being more comfortable, and it just makes me feel good that someone is helping these animals feel better. Maybe that's what it is. But yeah, I do watch those videos.
Now the Angus is really good beef. That's supposed to be one of the best eating cows, apparently, or one of the top ones, the Angus.
By the way, people don't normally eat cows. They eat steer, which are castrated bulls.
The Brahma is it the one that got the big hump on his back? That one.
And a dewlap. Hump and dewlap. Kent, this is something that Lisa Simpson taught you.
Can stand the heat really well. The Brahma came from down Mexico's Central American country.
No! It's called a Brahma for a reason. It came from India, Kent. Holy crap! It's Bos Taurus indicus for a reason. What the There are no native cattle to Mexico because cattle didn't exist in Mexico until Europeans brought them there, Kent. What the... Okay, I have to breathe. Hold on.
It's gonna be okay. At some point.
I'm taking a drink. Living pterodactyl immurement, therefore, Squawkney says for $2, 100 pounds of milk. Anything to avoid the metric system. I mean, to some extent, yeah. But, oh my good, the Brahma cow comes from Mexico. Ah. Okay, everyone. Okay, not everyone.
Yeah.
Remind me to tell Vishanti, who has Mexican ancestry in multiple different lines, that Kent said that the Brahma cow was native to Mexico. Or the Brahma
I
cow.
will.
Yeah. Holy crap. I just... There are no domesticated cattle native to North, Central, or South America. Why did I agree to do 3 hours of this in one night?
It was your
Holy-
idea.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't my
I
idea.
blame you. I think it was your idea. We remember this differently, and that's how it is.
This is a suggestion you brought to me.
I
and
don't...
said, okay,
No. This is a suggestion you brought to me. I'm going with
it's not
that.
true.
Yeah, it's definitely true.
I reject the blame. I did not suggest
Well, I
this.
reject your attempt to blame me.
I'm just saying what happened.
You know what? Let's blame Josh.
Okay.
Okay, Josh, screw you. Here's more Kent.
you know, and it was able to tolerate the heat, whereas the Angus was able to give the best beef. Brahma's not as good eaten, but it stands the heat better.
Hey, here's a fun thing. People don't normally eat Brahma cows because they're sacred, because they give milk, which is life-giving on its own. So, there you go. That's a thing.
Angus is better beef, but it doesn't stand the heat very well. And so they cross them and get a Brangus, which is both. But only...
I don't know if they can... I mean, they definitely can cross them. I don't know if it's the thing they do. Seems reasonable. I don't know.
for that one generation. So the
Why only that one generation? Like, they're the same species. They're both boss towers. Like, you can keep breeding them true. I think Kent is making things up. But then again, okay, it could be like the thing where if you do like generation 1 hybrids between certain breeds of dogs, the generation 2 hybrids, if you breed those hybrids together, don't breed true to the generation 1. So I guess that's technically possible. I don't know. But oh my goodness, in an attempt to officially end the stream slightly early, Trail Mix has just gifted 10 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. They went to Cat T, Ursi Rose, Crank Quokka. Oh, Quokkas are adorable. Cillian D, Kathy Parr, Caliban, David Berry, Grey Wolf Coder, Grungivaldi Gurdison, Mira DeFalco, and I think that is it. And then also Living Pterodactyl, Immurement, therefore Squawkney for $2 says Indian luchadores are something else. Mexican. There we go. I'm going to go with Mexican as the thing for that. All right, here's 10 drinks. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Give me a second. I'm going to take a breath. Dr. Tapioca Weasel sends a thumbs up, kind of a super sticker for $5. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I think it's a thumbs up. I don't know. It's covered by the stupid heart. 6. Oh, it's a mic drop. Okay, there we go. 7. 8. 9. And 10.
That's a lot of drinks.
Yeah, it is. What are we at? 138? My goodness. I don't know if it's ever gone that high. We're
That's
only
a lot.
25 members away from 100 members, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah. By the way, I do not have enough drink left for 25 members. So, but Living Pterodactyl Immurement, therefore Squawkney, just gifted Rye a membership. So we'll take another drink. Okay. Here we go.
Farmer will have a whole herd of Angus cows and one Brahma bull, and then he takes the generation they produce and sells them.
Sure.
If he tried to raise them to produce the next generation, he would lose it.
Why would you
I don't actually know if that's true. It might be, it might not be.
why couldn't you breed a Brangus and a Brangus and keep
I guess it starts blending back to one trait or the other. You know,
Kent doesn't know, in other words.
this is the type of stuff you study, and I didn't take classes on that. You know,
Of course not. Why would you?
Kent, you got a diploma from a diploma mill, and we read your thesis. Me and Bent and Chesh and Vishanti read your thesis, dude. It starts with, "Hello, my name is Kent Hovind," and has a poem about grass and cheese and the color green in it. It promises 19 chapters and delivers less than half of that. Kent,
Yeah,
you
it's a
haven't
shame.
taken a class on a goddamn thing. There isn't anything you've taken a class on that actually would be relevant to anything. You have no higher education beyond a single year in community college that you dropped out of to go to a fake, unaccredited Christian university that you also didn't get a degree from, and then later paid a diploma mill to get a fake PhD with that as your thesis, dude. You haven't taken a class in anything in any way that matters. Now, with that being said, Silent Tetrapod has gifted 10 Dapper Dinosaur memberships, which went to Biggest August, Queen Necra II, not Alex Merkel, Cryo Venator, ooh, good name, Luma, Renee Demers, Lucifer Almighty, Alan Mayfield, Fred Hedgehog, Thurbin, Strawberry Milk Goblin, Roger Shrum, and I think that covers it. Alright, let's see if my bladder can withstand 10 more drinks. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Living Pterodactyl Immurement, therefore, Squawkney for $2 says Kent's dissertation was the basis of the Book of Mormon musical. Kent would hate that if that were true, because I'm pretty sure he's not a big fan of, the Mormons.
I don't think he is.
on farming, okay, husbandry.
Get to back to where like you do the beef with
It'll start to lose some of the traits, right? So when a Norwegian and a Russian marry, you got the two supreme races, you know, that they ought to produce really good kids if they ever would.
By the way, I think we're like less than 100 away from me wearing the tutu.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'll have to listen back to what I said to make sure. Okay. Let's see. Dr. Tapio Weasel for $5 says, I would like to take this opportunity to remind people to share the video now. Like right now. Just click the button, copy the link, and post it. Yes, please do. That would be very, very helpful.
Right, son? Okay. Tell him, brother. See, okay. So the microevolution is observable, it is scientific, it is scriptural. The Bible says they're going to bring forth after their kind. Probably Chihuahua and Great Dane came from a common ancestor, even though they look
Living pterodactyl immurement, therefore Squawkney for $2 says, Bent, make sure Dapper Dino,
Take
make
care
sure
of it.
Dapper's in Dino rescue position.
I'll take care.
Extremely different. And if all you found were the bones in the ground and you'd never seen a live animal, you probably would never put them as the same kind.
Yeah, that's probably true. Reggio just gifted 10 more Dapper Dinosaur memberships. Goodness. Cookies Riot. Masked Wolf Dragoness, Brandy Jones, David Smith, Virgil DeCamine, Blaster Master 80, Nepernicus, I think? I don't know. Sorry. Adam Barnett, Gerald Burgess, and Bruce David. All right, here we go. 10 more drinks. I brought this on myself, didn't I? Okay, here we go.
A little bit.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, hold on. Give me a second. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. However, what that means is that I am all out of drinks. That's it. That's all I got.
Chat won the drinking game.
Cat won the drinking game at 159 drinks. All right, we're going to get a little more Kent in, and then we're going to close it up, guys.
What do you mean? We never put the bones.
If nobody had ever seen a live dog, and you found bones of Chihuahuas and bones of Great Danes,
Oh.
you would not imagine that's the same kind of animal. If all you found
Wait, same kind? Okay, Kent, then that means that we've seen a change in kind, right? Because Great Danes and Chihuahuas can't be the same kind. Problem solved.
Done.
Living pterodactyl immurement, therefore Squawkney for $2 says, do you wear boxers or briefs for streams? Depends. Well, actually, if you've seen my avatar, or me on live streams where I appear on camera, like in the Unnamed Tavern stream, you will see that I just don't wear anything other than a monocle, a top hat, and a tie. So I don't wear either, actually. Yeah, just, I would say freeballing it, but like, you know, not a mammal, so, you know, internal testes. Oh, yeah. All right, here we go.
was a fossil caterpillar and a fossil butterfly.
Never.
You would never dream it's the same animal, right?
Right.
But it is.
I wonder how many fossils we find like that today.
There are lots of fossils like that. They're like the dinosaurs. There's no telling how many are actually the same kind. There are many, for instance, there's what's called sexual dimorphism, where the male and the
Now, this is a real problem in paleontology, right? How do you know if you have two sexes or two species? And the answer is, it's hard to say. Like, there's a gracile and a robust morph of Tyrannosaurus rex. Now, we find both in the same environment and the same time, so it seems like they're probably not different enough to be, like, niche partitioned, which means it's probably a sexual dimorphism thing, but we can't say for sure. And again, living pterodactyl immurement, therefore Squawkney for $2 says, time to bust out dregs of good stuff, Ghidorah, and I would take a drink, but I don't have a drink, but I'll increase the counter to 160, because why not? And, yeah, here we go.
female are very different, even in their, skeletal structure. For instance, if you look at sea lions, the male is huge and the female is always real tiny.
I wouldn't say real tiny, but okay.
So, and if you look at black widow spiders, the female's huge and the male's real tiny.
Well, I don't know about huge, but yes, the male is much, much smaller than black widows. But you know what? We're gonna pause it there. We're gonna pick back up with sexual dimorphism from Kent Hovind, who I'm sure wouldn't go into gender essentialism or bio-truths about this, right? Like, not gonna pull a Matt Powell on us. Now, DM scientist, chemist, automechanic wing for $2 says, Kent suggesting dinos were artificially selected? I don't think he is, but I mean, I wouldn't put it past him. So we're going to start wrapping up here. Bent, do you have anything you want to tell people before we get out of here permanently? By permanently, meaning for the night.
For the night. Yeah, happy Halloween, everyone.
Yes.
If you want, you can support me on Patreon or my Amazon wishlist, which are linked below. And I also have free music you can download and listen to.
Awesome.
That's it.
All right, so let's take a look at what's coming up on the channel in the next week or so. All right, so on the 3rd of November, we have, the 2nd of November, we have the final episode of the ICR Facts coming out. That'll be at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Then on Saturday at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be having another Gish with Vish, with Vishanti, presumably, assuming Vishanti's okay. Which she should be. I don't have any reason to think she isn't. Wait a minute. Don't you have to drink alcohol? I mean, I don't have any, man. All I have is a little bit of gin left that's way over there. I can't go get it. Because I...
Too far away.
Yeah, it's too far away. I can't walk that far. Too late for that. Can't do it. So that's on the 4th. On the 7th, Kent with Bent will be back. There will be a pink tutu. I think it's going to be on Bent. I got to double check.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be on Bent. And that's about a week ahead. I am working on a couple of collaborations, hopefully coming up in the next month or two. I'm not going to say too much more than that, other than that's the thing. And oh wait, it says wait a minute, you don't have to drink alcohol. I guess I don't have to. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Sorry about that, living pterodactyl. But yeah, that's what's coming up in the next week or so. So with that, I will say good night. Happy Halloween. I hope all of you had a wonderful Halloween. And I'm going to get out of here because I just had 160 drinks of alcohol. I really, really, really need to pee.
Bye,
So,
everybody.
bye, everybody. Before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Ben Tovind, Whispers, Denny5252, Elron Teller, Phil Rivara, Ian Chen, Kelvin Brostick Van Manen, Landon Knoll, Mabdy Babdy, Monkey They Them, Sphincter of Doom, Strawberry Vein, Star Runner, and Dr. Tapioca Weasel. It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 10% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos, often 3 to 5 months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching. Thanks.